To a brand new video today here on Codename Pizza, and welcome to a brand new Easter egg tutorial here on Codename Pizza as well, for a brand new side Easter egg that has just been found on the map Terminus in Black Ops 6 Zombies. Now with this Easter egg, you can either do it solo or in a co-op game, and you will be rewarded 5,000 points for doing this, but we'll explain that in just a second. Remember, if you do want to support the channel, to leave a like on this video, it helps as always, and make sure you subscribe to the channel to become the latest member of the Pizza Club. We're on the road to 1 million subscribers, and that would help me out a lot. So thank you. But without further ado, let's do this thing. So in Terminus, you need to make sure that you have opened up the secret room to be able to access this Easter egg. So make sure you get dead wire on your weapon, turn on all the generators inside of the map, obviously raise the elevator and shoot all the electrical boxes with one of your weapons that has dead wire on it, therefore opening up the secret room. After you've done this, make sure you shoot the person that's on the floor. They'll drop a hard drive, and then you can make your way over to the generator room where you can open this briefcase and pick up this parts to the wonder weapon machine. Then return the parts and place it inside of this computer, and this is where the fun begins. Obviously, during this part of the Easter egg, you do need to go and make your way to all of the laptops in the map. The 3 laptops are XYZ laptops, and you've just got to turn them on. And typically at this point, you can use the website generator to tell you exactly what code you are going to be typing into this computer, or you can actually go and pay Peck 5,000 points. He'll take 5,000 points off you, and your code for the computer to unlock the next step of the wonder weapon will be on the Peck's screen. But at this point, if you want to give Peck the money, feel free. We thought that at this point in the game, your money is lost, but now there is a brand new way how to get your 5,000 points back, and it's super simple. All you've got to do is go and make your way over to the water areas of the map and find some fish inside of the water. Throw a grenade inside of the water to kill these fish. They might drop you some loot, and you'll also see the dead fish inside of the water that you can go over to and pick up. There's no animation for actually picking the fish up, but just make sure if you've tapped X or square or F, you've got the fish in your invent. Go and make your way over to the mess hall where you can pick up this cooking oil off the shelf and place the cooking oil and the fish inside of the frying pan. Now that they're both inside of there, wait 1 round, and then when you're on the next round, you can make your way back over to the frying pan, and it'll give you the option to either eat the fish or take the fish. And you want to do the option of taking the fish. So take your fish and go and make your way over to Peck. You'll be given the option to give Peck the fish. And after Peck takes the fish, eats the fish, he will reward you back that 5,000 points that you gave him for the wonder weapon code. Now, obviously, inside of the footage right now, you can see that inside of our game, we tried this with double points and also the profit sharing gobblegum to see if we can either get double points for this or maybe share that 5,000 points between the 2 of us inside of the game. And unfortunately, it did not work. But if you can't be bothered doing the generator sites for this part of the Easter egg, and you just want to get your 5,000 points back without having to go to external sites to be able to figure this out, there you go. Your option is there, and you will get your full 5,000 points back. But there you go. I hope you guys have enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure you smash a like on the video right now.
Did not think that would be a thing.
The quest continues to build the ultimate beginner's toolkit. And this week we're going to Walmart with $100. We're gonna see if myself or Sam can put together a better kit in 30 minutes. The category is randomly selected with a wheel, and if you're new here, we have a judge that picks it at the end. And this week I'm pretty excited because we've got a special guest judge coming in to select the winner. And he actually has no idea that he's gonna be doing it. So with that being said, in this week's $100 toolkit challenge, we're headed to Walmart. Let's spin the wheel, boys. For the last challenge, we spun and landed on an electrical toolkit from Harbor Freight. I lost, and Sam won a bottle of booze, bourbon specifically. This is some Elijah Craig Toasted Barrel. Hard to get here in PA. Congrats again. Sam is 2-0 so far in our showdown for these DIY toolkits. So we've crossed off general and we've crossed off electrical. With Walmart on the docket, I am not excited about any of the categories that are left because they have a trash selection of tools in my opinion. But let's go. There we go. Oh, mechanic. Damn it. I am considerably at a disadvantage here because I don't know shit about cars. Sam has to work on the Ranger every other day, so this one should get interesting. Let's head to the store.
What's the bet?
Oh, yeah, we need a bet this time. All right, I'm down 2 to you already. You've got yourself a phenomenal dinner. Yeah. Look at this son of a bitch. He's like, it was nice. You just got yourself a really nice bottle of booze, one of mine and my buddy's favorites. I guess I'll let you pick the wager this time because I just consistently lose.
I know one. Whenever I win, I get to choose an outfit for you to wear. What the f are you talking about, man?
All right, I'll take it. He gets to buy me a wardrobe for one full video wear. And then do I get to do the same?
Yeah, we could do that.
All right, that's a bet. Let's head to Walmart. Up first, this guy. Before Sam hits the road, this video is sponsored by AG1.
All right, Joe, off we are again in the Ford Ranger to take on John, another one of these $100 challenges.
Oh, so you're the resident mechanic. How do you feel?
I feel great that we landed on mechanic. I wouldn't say I'm the resident mechanic, but I feel like I'm kind of like a junkyard rednecky sort of mechanic, which should hopefully come in handy during this challenge. Hold on, we got
Oh, no.
It's probably just cold out. When it gets cold, the air gets thin.
What's this scientific test you're doing? Maybe you could use this mechanic set more than me.
Maybe. I feel like they've got enough pressure to get us there. This is not looking good for the beginning of the mechanic challenge. All right, so this mechanic challenge, I feel like there's some advantages and disadvantages. Advantage number one, I've witnessed him fix a lot of cars. Most of his vehicles are very nice. From the ones he's told me about in his past, they haven't required much maintenance, so I don't think he's had his hands on too many cars. Advantage number two, bam, I used to work at a Walmart my freshman year of college. Cap 2, store 1884. I know where everything in this store is at. I know secret items. I think we're gonna be gold. Disadvantage, however, is our surprise judge. I feel like John knows this surprise judge more than I do, so he probably knows what tools to cater to this person's liking. And my main objective with this challenge is just to put together a toolkit that you could use not only on your car, but maybe you're fixing like a lawnmower or some sort of small engine. What's gonna be difficult about this is I feel like mechanics tools are very expensive. We have a $100 budget. That's not a lot of room to work with, but I need to win this challenge because I got to throw John in an outfit, right?
Yeah, an outfit.
Yeah, I just want to throw him in something goofy. I think we win.
We? I'm always the winner.
I think my approach to this one is just gonna be to take my time. I feel like there's no need to be in a rush. Everything we need is gonna be in like 3 aisles.
Go.
We're gonna head on down to automotive. See, now this is what I was afraid of. These all-in-one kits. See what it's ringing up as. I feel like it would be like cheating to get like an all-in-one kit. 98 bucks. We'll keep it in mind. It also completely wipes out our budget, so we're gonna try to build this from scratch. Let's start down here with the sockets. Honestly, it's probably just gonna be a slow progression up this aisle, maybe 1 to 2 other spots. Since this is just basic mechanics, you could get away with a 3/8 inch. This little guy right here might be decent for a starter set. You've got metric standard, a few deep wells, some extensions. Nah. My goal is to keep the budget as tight as we can. We want to get you the most amount of stuff. I think if ours is more versatile, that's better. Let's start you off with this little 54 piece kit. Oh yeah, 1/4 and 3/8. We got 3/8 ratchet, so we're only down $13. You have your basic ratchet and some sockets. It'd be nice to get you some open ends. Whoa, Joe, get on down here, look at this. Metric open ends, $9, all right. So now we are at 13 plus 9, so we're at $22. But you know what? I'm gonna try to pack this with as much as I can, just keep the price low. So you set of vice grips, so we're $5, so that's 27. Pliers would be nice. Ooh, these little needle nose, only $5.77. You're definitely gonna need a hammer. Ooh, some of these little pocket screwdrivers, these actually come in handy more often than you might think. We'll get you a small set, so that's $4. Ooh, how about one of these little magnetic trays? These are always nice with bolts. It's awful whenever you're like taking something apart, you're moving a water pump or something, you've got all your bolts set aside, you lose one, and then the whole job's just ruined. So we're gonna get you one of these nice little, they're all stuck together, power of magnetism. Magnets! Oh! One of these. So we are at, hold on, 22. 20. I know I want to get you a flashlight. It'd be sick to get you some more sockets for this. Also, maybe a breaker bar. 1282. I don't know about all that now. This will come in handy, Joe. You break a few bolts off, nice little bolt extractor kit. I don't know if we're gonna get the breaker bar yet, because then I would have to get sockets for it. I would love to get you like a set of 3/8 inch sockets. Maybe I could do these deep wells. What do they give you in this? Because see, this, they're not giving you much. You got a few 1/4 inch drives, then you have some 3/8 and some standard sizes, which are great. I'm gonna forego this. I'm gonna forego the big guy, and maybe we'll get you some deep wells. 1488. Whoa, wait, we got a rollback deal here. Hold on. This 90-piece mechanic set.
You have 19 minutes.
Yeah, I'm gonna make an executive decision. We're gonna put back this. We'll go for the 90-piece set. It's gonna be a higher quality tool. You're gonna get more sockets. You'll get more versatility out of that. I'll probably not get the deep wells. Oh, God, but that takes us almost right to the end there. I don't know. We'll think about it. It's just such a nicer set. We're right here. I want to get you some PB blaster. I want to get you a razor blade. I want to get you a hammer. We might have to put that socket set back. It may be driving us over. A little 8-ounce ball peen hammer. That might not be a bad move. God, but that takes us almost to the end of the budget. Let's grab it. I'll see if I can find some PB blaster. I may go back on everything I said with that socket set. Okay. We're gonna have to reevaluate because we're over budget. I think we're gonna have to go back on this whole 90-piece kit here. So let's see. Yeah, we're throwing this back. Yeah, we'll go this guy. We're at 70. How much time do we have left, Joe?
Just under 14 minutes.
So we'll get you these deep wells. At least there's some screwdrivers in there. That'll be plus 14. That takes us to 84. So we're still good. Let's look at your kit real quick. If it just didn't take up the whole budget. No, to be honest, you're not even really getting them. I mean, you're getting more sockets, but I have more open ends. I have a decent amount of sockets. Oh, Allen keys. I forgot to get you some Allen keys. You're probably not going to use those all too often, but we'll still get them. I'd like to get you a scraper for gaskets. I may also just get you some razor blades. Yeah, get you a pack of razor blades. Scrape off some gaskets. So that'll be plus 2. So we're at 86. $5. 3 sets of Allen keys. We're at $91. I want to get you a flashlight. See, I bet we'll go down sporting goods. We'll find a cheaper flashlight. I think I'm okay leaving with this. I'd kind of like to get you some channel locks, but I don't know if it's in the budget. We're gonna forego the channel locks because we're already pretty tight. Oh, but they do have that nice little set there, $16. Would I save any money if I threw? Yeah, you know what? That makes sense. I'll put these back. So that'll be subtracted. I'll subtract 10. That'll be 81 plus 15. So 81 plus 15. We're at $96. Okay, that's a better selection. We're getting even more tools. So we've got approximately $4 to spend on a flashlight. So how about a nice headlamp? So that's gonna knock us down $2. I think that's gonna be a wrap for us. Ben, how much time?
You got 8 minutes.
Let's stop down the car aisle, see if we can find a novelty car item for $2. And I think we're golden. Oh, a nice little pocket flashlight there. Yeah, this is gonna be it. I'd love to get the novelty car item. I think that's a wrap. All right.
Time just ended too.
Phew, that was so close in all regards. It's close with the time, close with the price. I feel like we definitely maxed out everything we could get for that budget. I feel good. I think we're gonna do well here. I guess we'll see. Back to the shop, yeah.
John, pull us back. Let's go.
What are you doing?
Get my supplements, bro.
What supplements?
Vitamin D and K2. AG1, baby. Haven't heard of it?
No, what's AG1?
Let me tell you, dude, AG1's actually an awesome supplement I've been taking for years. It's packed with 75 high-quality vitamins, minerals, probiotics, and whole food sources that are great for your gut health and just your overall wellness. Let's be honest, guys, none of us are eating enough greens or goodness in our diet, so this helps me kind of make sure I'm at least putting one good thing in my body a day. It's super easy. You just mix up a scoop with some water, and that's it. It actually tastes pretty good. A lot of the nutrients come from citrus. I like the taste of it compared to other supplements I have, and I'm always on the go, and I'm in a literal workshop, guys. So getting things that are good for my diet are important to me. That's why I've been taking it for years.
Right now, AG1 is offering a surprise bonus limited edition gift on top of the welcome kit when you first subscribe. It won't last long, so head to my link to check it out, only while supplies last.
You definitely want to check it out. You ready to go, Joe?
Yeah, let's get it.
Since Joe is the beneficiary of all of these DIY kit challenges we're doing, he insisted we go to the biggest Walmart in the area, so we're heading there right now. Now for me, this is a very weak bucket. I don't work on vehicles really. I don't have a ton of experience. What I do know is there's a few things if you are working on your car at home that I kind of want to hope to cover. Some stuff for changing your oil, a breaker bar, maybe just some basic wrenches, something for like testing your battery perhaps, maybe a jumper cable box. I don't know if that would fall into that category, but everything I'm saying seems to get expensive very quick. So I don't know, not feeling good about this one, guys. Sam has definitely got the edge here in regards to knowing what to buy. I'm just hoping Wally World comes through with something ridiculous in store.
Wally World.
Wally World, baby. All right, we're gonna start the timer when we get up close to the store. Walmart does not like filming in the store, so we've got to be pretty discreet. So we're gonna like hold off for like a minute before we start the timer. We're in the middle of the parking lot. I'm about to go full sprint. You ready, Joe? Here we go. Ooh, 40 bucks. Coming back. Okay, here we go. Tools. Mechanic. Okay, here's some mechanic stuff. Oh, damn, none of this is affordable at all. Walmart. WTF. Ooh, clearance, baby. This might work to my advantage because Pola's not here. It's a combo wrench set.
You look familiar.
It's like $9. What a deal. It's all metrics though. I want to focus on like things for working on your car at the house. It's 30 bucks. That sucks. Impacts have to be black, I think, to be rated properly for taking things off like your wheels or something, like impact ready, right? We're bobbing and weaving employees here, people. We're $9 so far. There's no price on this. I did want to get a braking bar, but this doesn't have a price. I don't know, that's 26. Everyone else that has no sets, they have all the sets. 26 and 9. I think I'm gonna go with this, Joe.
You're at 26 minutes.
We've got some hex keys, Phillips bits, bit organizer, comes in a case, 1/2-inch drive socket. Yeah, we got 2 ratchet handles, 27 bucks and $9. That's 36 bucks. Don't know what this costs. I guess I'm gonna have to pull out a Walmart app. It says it's 12 bucks. So we'll come back to that. And for me, I always feel like I need the dumbest shit when I'm working on my truck, which is very, very, very rare. So like stuff like this, we'll see if we can come back and see if we can grab something like that. Let's see if they've got anything for like changing your oil. I'm hurting here, guys. We got 2 things. It's been like 10 minutes. Here's what I'm talking about. First, any clearance tags, nail guns. What is this? What are we doing here? What are we doing here? Cotter pins, real shitty toolboxes. There's so much car shit here. I don't know if this is gonna work. PB Blaster, baby. I mean, I might just stick to what I know, Joe. When we said mechanic, we should have went vehicle.
Hey, it is what it is.
Here's what I'm talking about. Get you this. Changing your oil. Why is there no prices, Walmart? F you. What is your price on this? This is a return. What is going on here? Killing me, Walmart.
21 minutes.
Wi-Fi is pretty junk in here. I'm gonna put these down here because this is some random shit that you want in the house. Why is that $20? What a f***ing waste of money. Pula's gonna crush me here. He's gonna absolutely destroy me.
John, I need you to lock it the f in.
Why?
He's gonna put you in the stupidest outfit you could ever imagine. He was telling me already what he was thinking, and you don't want to know.
Joe, I fear it. I don't even know where to begin. All I know how to do is change an oil and like tighten down stuff. So this is $32.80. Walmart used to be the place for the best prices.
But that was a long time ago.
Get the hell out of here with 32 bucks for that piece of shit. $3. I'm at $45. I don't need the 5x8. Maybe I get the little guy. 10, 11. All right, 56. All right, those are important. Joe's got a big boy truck. I'm just gonna send it. Decap oil filter. You definitely want one of these. That's $4. That's 56. I'm at 60. Why does there have to be like a 50 pack? Why can't they sell like 10? This is definitely like $500.
Look up.
75. I want to get something for your battery. I was gonna see if they had a mini jumper. They just had code unlocks there. Here we go. I don't know if any of this falls into mechanic, Joe. Here we go. $6. Large truck plumber. I don't need that one. I want to go with this. $3. 63. I'm banking on the oil change. Battery charger, jumper cables. Ooh, look at that. Jackery in Walmart. I mean, I just feel like if I get jumper cables, it's just gonna fall flat. It's not, is that mechanic?
I mean, your battery's a part of your vehicle.
I was 63. This is 78. Okay, so I'm back over here. I wish I had an impact ready combo set. I will say some of this stuff is like not necessary, but it's nice to have. Like having a puller like this. So it's the stuff that like Joe would probably be doing on his truck. You're probably gonna like pop a tab, take a panel off, run a wire.
I took my whole front panel off to paint my emblems, actually, funny enough. I actually could have used something like that.
So this was $6, $6.50. So what did I say? I had 22, that's, it's $15.50. 1/4-inch drive torque wrench. I wanna get some standard wrenches, but they literally don't have any. That one set is double, and these Heart ones are like 12x the price. We got plenty of time. I have 13 minutes. I'll sub the $9 so you can get both of them. Sam's gonna buy the same exact thing. I know he is. That's what I was trying to avoid. I'm actually gonna start a cart. Do you even have a barcode? 22, add to cart. All right, $97.42 for everything in here right now, which means I got $2.50. I saved 8 cents.
Wow.
Oh, look, here's some super cheap shit.
That's super tough shit.
Dude, even air fresheners are more than $2.50.
Holy shit.
What the hell, America?
That's crazy.
Inflation's real. $2.88. They don't have like a, what's this, $2? What is this?
No one wants that flavor.
I sure don't. I got 10 minutes. Give me like one wipe. It's kind of a pretty good price there, Joe. What do you think, huh? Doesn't someone have to wash someone else's car here? Doesn't the Ranger need a wash?
I do indeed. I was just going to use the hose and some hand soap. Didn't specify what it was going to be washed with.
Wow.
There was a terry cloth pack for $1.97, which would have put me right in, and someone stole them.
Looks like I got a plate of the favor that I know the guest judge and that Sam doesn't. I hope I won him over with this last selection. I got 4 minutes. See if there's anything in like a canister that we might want in the shop for the 250. I could get rid of the puller, but I think the puller is going to be a dub. All right, we're going to check out. There's like an overwhelming amount of selection in there. It's almost more than Harbor Freight, which happens to just be next door. I think I got a really solid like general bag. Hope it pulls through the W. If not, Sam's gonna have me dressing up as like friggin' Prince or something for a video.
You don't want to know what he was been saying.
I told him what I was gonna do, threaten him with if I won. I'm thinking inflatable hot dog costume.
Ask me about my winner.
But he has to work in it for a full day. I'll make sure we're like doing absurd things. So we're back, Sam's back. Our special guest judge just arrived. We're both gonna stage our stuff to make it look as appealing as possible like we did in the last video. And then I will introduce you to the gentleman who is going to be picking the winner. All right, here we go. Go ahead and show your stuff.
Started off with this guy.
54 piece, Not a bad choice. I figured you'd be going for the exact same thing, so I grabbed this sucker.
That's cool.
Yeah, this is the 107 piece. Eat it.
That's very nice. Let me give you 15 pieces that you'll actually use. Funny story, I get it up to the register and they were like, it's $15. No, it's supposed to be $9. I'm like, Joe, how much time do we have left? He's like, 4 minutes. I'm like, and he's like, just ask that guy. There was this delightful man, and I thank you. This is an older gentleman. I was like, excuse me, sir, this was supposed to be $9, but it's 15. And like, I thought he was gonna be like, well, you gotta show me or I'll go grab somebody. He's like,
9.
Okay.
That's so Walmart. By the way, you're missing a wrench.
No way.
So I had that in the bag until the last minute, and I had more in the budget, and I went ahead and got this one, which had millimeters and standard, because I thought, you know, hey, this asshole, he's driving an American truck. Probably need some standard stuff.
There's nothing on that truck that's standard. All right, some deep wells.
Yeah, I told you he was going to go for the deep well. I told you.
So versatile.
You got it. Yeah, it's a good buy. It's a good buy. I'm still, this is all I got.
Yeah, we also got this nice ball peen hammer.
What are you fixing with a ball peen hammer?
Your brakes?
No.
It's case closed.
Well, I'll match your ball peen hammer with a plastic plug puller because I was like, you know what?
This is so random.
I said to Joe. Exactly.
Razor blades.
That's a good call. I'm not gonna lie. All I cared about was tweaking random things.
Yeah.
And then changing your oil. So everything I got was basically around that. So obviously I've got a funnel.
And a beer bong for the lady.
A mat, which I've always wanted. Praying this fits. And then we went with a jumper cables and then the oil pan.
All right. See, I went more so, I guess, in the route of like fixing anything on the car. These guys.
I never do.
This is great. Every mechanic has these in their pockets. A little versatile thing.
Yeah, you're right. Now that I think about it.
Clips, hoses, bolt extractor set. Because any first-time mechanic, you're gonna break a couple heads on your bolts.
Dude, I do not feel good. I don't feel good. I really don't feel good, guys.
Multi-set of these pliers.
How can you afford all this?
We also have multi-set of Allen keys.
Where the hell did you get all this money? There's Allen keys in here. Okay, don't knock me out yet.
We also got a headlamp, got a flashlight, little stick light.
You know what? I went flashlight on the last 2 kits and it didn't do anything for me.
Well, we had a different judge. Well, 5-hour energy.
That's a good call.
In case, you know, you need a little boost. And probably the most important thing you'll need working on any vehicle.
AV blaster.
Oh, what is that then?
This is the multi-purpose lubricant.
Ah, see, this is penetrant oil. That's, you know, it's like WD-40 you just bought.
I know. I told you, though, he was going to buy it. Did I not? All right, so we got to stage these to look pretty and then meet the judge. All right, the wait is over, people. Our guest judge for this particular category is not a mechanic, but he is a jack of all trades. He used to be on my main channel, was a staple individual in getting it started. Please welcome Sam Green to Unscrewed. Welcome, Sam.
What's up, man? How are you?
So, he has no idea what's going on, but we're gonna roll in 2 sets of mechanics tools. You're not gonna know whose is whose.
Okay.
And because you wrench on cars for the misery and joy, you gotta pick one of them to the death.
To the death.
Yes, Godspeed.
All right, so we'll start on the left here. Good set of wrenches, wide variety, you get both sets. The stubbies are nice with the car stuff. Door panel removal tool. Those clips are a pain in the ass, so I can see that. Oil spill mat. Honestly, like, I've spilled more oil on the ground than I've captured, so that's good. Jumper cables, oil filter wrench, assuming this is the right one for your car. Definitely good, but not as versatile. Can't go wrong with a funnel with the little... Don't do that once you've used oil in it. Socket set. Oh. Ooh. This is good. All right, so we've got 2 different sizes of 1/2 inch, like 3/8 probably. Nice set. This is cool. Having a little socket driver for the 1/4 inch ones as well as just 1/4 inch bolts. Some Allen wrenches. It's pretty good they got all that for $100. And an oil pan. If you're getting into mechanics, changing your oil is probably like the first thing you're getting into. So having like the kit here for your oil change, you gotta have it. Jumper cables, also great to have. And some multi-purpose lubricant from the friends at PB Blaster. This isn't the like traditional one, so that's interesting to me. It's close, not quite the right tool. But overall, I think it covers a lot of the bases. It's sort of an oil change and wrench kit. Honestly, this part, I don't know how much this thing was. This feels like a little bit of a weird move to me. This feels like I had $10 left and panicked. Kit number 2. So this seems like we got more items. We've got some little screwdrivers. These are great to have. I'm trying to think of when I've used this kind of thing with a car though. Some razor blades for scraping stuff if you need to get glue or something off. This one we've got a 54-piece socket set, so not quite as extensive as the other one. We'll crack this open, but it appears to be a similar kind of kit. This appears to just be the 3/8 kit, so you don't get those 1/2 inch ones, which isn't necessarily a deal breaker, but if you got something bigger that you need to kind of put some beef behind, that's gonna be a downside. No deep sockets in this one either, but overall, pretty good kit. I spoke too soon. Deep sockets, they went ahead and just added a separate set of the metric deep sockets. Metric was a good choice. Don't quote me on this, but I'm pretty sure if you just had metric, you could get away with it. Yeah, right. They fit enough. Got another set of wrenches. No stubbies in this kit, but the stubbies are more sort of like specialty, except one's missing. The 10 mil is missing. Is this a joke? Some Allen sets. Are these Torx? Is that what these are called? The star bits? These are definitely good to have. I don't love the Swiss Army knife style ones because it's sometimes that gets really in the way and it's hard to get a lot of torque on them. But again, we're on a budget, so good stuff there. A bolt extractor kit. If your car is more than 6 years old, you know these are important. That's a good move, as well as this is the right PB Blaster. Penetrating oil to get a stuck bolt loose, so hopefully you don't have to use these, but I've used a lot of that in the day. Headlamp, that's key. I use one all the time, as well as a pen light. Little 5-hour energy, because you know it's gonna be a late night. If you've got these things out and the headlamp on, you're drinking that for sure. A little hammer. It's interesting here. We've got sort of 2 story arcs here. I can imagine the projects between this guy. He's changing oil. He's having himself a Sunday. This guy, it's 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. He's gotta be at work at 6. A lot of swear words are involved. But a hammer, great to have. A magnetic bolt thing. These honestly, like, even if you're not a mechanic, you should just have like 10 of these around. Laying around. Like everywhere, because you're constantly looking for stuff. See, then we got some pliers, vice grips, needle nose. Very interesting here.
You gonna deliberate? I'll call them back in.
I'm sure that went swimmingly.
Find out.
But the only thing that matters at this point is which kit reigns supreme. So you gotta walk us through your thoughts first.
Well, as I was saying, it's kind of interesting. You got sort of 2 stories that have formed. This guy, it's Sunday, he's got a beer, he's doing an oil change. This feels like a man that's like, his car's newer. Yeah. We'll say that. It's not so new that he's still got that warranty where they do your oil for you, but like, it's newer. A very specific filter wrench, so I hope that is the right one for the vehicle. This part, it was interesting to me. Felt like there was 10 minutes left, maybe 2 minutes left, and this was a panic. He had $10 left in the budget or something. Highlights that I did like, thought out for a purpose. You got the jumper cables. If you don't own jumper cables, what are you doing? Go right now, pause this, go buy jumper cables. Pretty comprehensive on the socket set. I like the stubbies because there's always a weird spot that you can't get something on. Having it for the back. It's sort of a complete thought in a way. This guy, it's 2 a.m. It's Tuesday. Your alternator in your truck's dead. You gotta be at work at 6. Things are not looking so great for you. This one, less routine maintenance, more emergency fix is kind of the vibe I was getting. At first I was a little worried because the socket set didn't have the deep ones, but then glad to see someone between the headlamp, the bolt extractors, and the 5-hour energy, and the PB Blaster, which, to go back to this one for a second, door hinge lubricant. What are you guys doing? Feels a little more stressed. I like the 5-hour energy, I like the flashlights, I thought that was a nice.
It's a good kit.
It felt good, you got some pliers, some things against it. I don't like these. They're good as far as like on a budget, but these are honestly not worth the money. And this thing, I was saying, like, if you don't own one of these, regardless if you work on cars, like, they're so useful. I put chips, salsa in them. So, all that to say, which one do I think is a better kit for $100? Honestly, I think you both did a wonderful job, but I'm going with this one.
I literally can't beat him. Congratulations, Sam. I knew from the get-go, I know Sam very well, and I know this Sam very well, and I don't know what the hell I'm doing when it comes to mechanic sets, and I knew he was gonna appeal to the fact that this dude loves wrenching on a car, regardless of the time of day. So, congratulations to Sam.
3 days later.
John's costume arrived. We're gonna go present it to him.
Oh my goodness.
Trying to think of something you just despised.
You nailed it.
What John found his outfit.
Guys. Well, I guess if you want to see me wear this for an entire video, you're going to have to subscribe. And thank you, AG1, for sponsoring this video. Sam, this sucks.
If you've ever built your own PC, you've probably noticed that most of the components come packed in these shiny bags.
Hi, I received a call from a tax department saying that I may have committed a tax fraud and they're after me, and if I don't call them back, they would come after me and get me for any reason. I mean, I don't remember doing anything in a while, so yeah, let's give them a call and see what's going on.
Investigation Division of Canada Revenue Agency, how can I help you?
Hi, I just received a call from your department about something. I don't know what it is about. Can you explain? Hello? Department just hung up on me.
Investigation Division of Revenue Canada, how can I help you?
Hi, I just called. It seems it got disconnected. I received a call from you regarding a tax fraud or something. I was going to ask what.
Do you remember the name of that officer whom you were talking to earlier?
No, it was just disconnected.
So, had he read out the affidavit for you? Did he read down the affidavit for you?
No.
Okay. So well, Mr. You're not telling me the name of that officer, so how come I would be able to,
They just left me a message on my phone, and I don't think that.
Okay, it's a message. Okay, you have not talked to anyone. So, Mr. Bell, I need to know your name. Then only I can fill up your file and see who calls you up.
Okay, my name is Matthew Jackson.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, your file is in front of me. Now, just to make sure that I'm sharing out the confidential details to the right person. Yeah, can you verify me with your home address?
The home address is 1029 1145 Granville Street.
Granville Street, and what about your postal code?
The postal code is is V4Z8Z8.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, just give me a moment over here. Let me verify it. Okay, well, Mr. Jackson, you have given me the wrong postal code. Can you give me the right postal code?
I don't have it handy with me. I have to go through my latest mails and check it. But
you can go through right now. Take your time. I'm here.
Okay, just a second.
Yeah.
Oh well, I gave her the wrong information, and now she wants to know the real information. Hello there.
Jackson, I'm here. I'm here.
Yeah, hi. Sorry, I gave you the postal code of my previous address. The new one is.
Hello, Mr. Jackson.
I'm sorry, it was V6Z.
Okay.
1M1.
Okay, just give me a moment, Mr. Jackson. Let me verify it.
Good.
The verification process is done. Well, Mr. Jackson, the reason behind this call is that we have done a random audit on your tax filings of the last few years, and we have found that there were several miscalculations in your tax filings, because of which the CRA is filing a case under your name. So do you have a lawyer who can represent you in the court for this case?
No, I don't. I don't think I have done any miscalculations. I don't know what you found on the files. Can you explain?
Yes, I can explain, Mr. Jackson. There is a difference between your figures, the income which you have told me and the taxes which you have filed. And now the thing is that, Mr. Jackson, do you even realize that the local RCMP is having an arrest warrant under your name?
No, but why? I've never received any mail that I've done anything wrong.
Mr. Jackson, let me tell you, from last 3 days, we have tried to sending a hand-to-hand letter at your doorstep, but because no one was there at your doorstep, it returned back to us. Now, this is not our mistake. We have told you earlier, but because no one was there at your residence, it's your fault. So, Mr. Jackson...
But that's impossible. I work from home, and I haven't done anything in a long while.
Okay, Mr. Jackson. Okay, who files the taxes? Is it done by yourself, or you have hired an accountant for this?
No, I do it myself, but I do it accurately.
Okay, you do it accurately, but Mr. Jackson, let me tell you, this is Canada Revenue Agency. You cannot say like this, we have not done anything correct. So if you want me to go ahead, I will go ahead with you and tell you and read out the affidavit from which you can come to know everything about this case. Do you want me to do that?
Sure, go ahead.
My name is Officer Ellie Cooper, and my batch number is ELLE, and my batch number is 417. So, Mr. Jackson, now before I proceed further, I would like to notify you that these lines are recorded and monitored by Municipal Courthouse, the local RCMP department, the Immigration Department, and the Canadian Revenue Services. So please do not interrupt me while I'm reading out the affidavit. I will answer all your questions once I'm done with it. Shall I proceed further?
Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. According to federal legislation section 38 column 79, there are 4 allegations pressed on your name, Mr. Jackson. Count 1. Violation of the CRA Act 1956. The audit department has got strong evidence that this was not an innocent act, or this was willful act done with intent to defraud CRA. CRA has decided to forcefully recover the taxes by taking following steps. Step 1. Tax lien. The federal tax lien is a legal claim to your property, including property that you acquire after the lien arises. Step 2. Tax evasion. This is a felony, and a conviction can carry a prison sentence of up to 5 years and a fine up to $100,000. CRA will notify all the credit reporting agencies and all the government organizations regarding the tax fraud. Your employer will be contacted, and we will be garnishing your wages if you have any. And if you have any social insurance benefits, it will have a straight stop under Section 91A. With this, I'll brief you about this case. Are you still with me, Mr. Jackson?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, right now the amount outstanding under your name is $6,998. But once this case goes to court, the total charges you will be paying around $97,711, including penalty charges and case charges, and you will be arrested for coming 5 years. And now, before I send up the legal papers against you and get you arrested, what are the doubts or questions you have in your mind? Before asking them, I just want to know one thing, that why you have done such a thing. Is it a mistake according to you, or you have done it intentionally to defraud the Canadian government?
No, it must be a mistake somewhere. I'm sure I've done everything wrong. I mean, I very well cover my footsteps. I mean, not that I have done anything wrong, but I make sure my files are cleaned.
Right now? Mr. Jackson, well, right now, in this case, you have 2 options in front of you. Option 1 is that you can fight this case legally with the Revenue Canada. Well, if you lose this case, you will have to pay around $97,000, as I told you earlier, and you'll be getting, you'll be getting arrested for coming 5 years. And option 2nd is that I cannot commit you for this option. I can talk to the local RCMP and see if at all they can allow you to take care of this situation out of the court by submitting the outstanding balance, which is $6,998. But I cannot commit you for this. I need to talk to the local RCMP first. So what do you wish to do? Do you wish to fight this case with the Revenue Canada, or do you wish to talk to the local RCMP and resolve this matter?
I think I should talk to the local RCMP and get more details and see what they have found on my files. Maybe it's just a simple mistake they did.
Sure. Yeah. Sure. But Mr. Jackson, let me tell you, let me get your statistics clear. That someone defeated the Revenue Canada was in 1998. That was almost 19 years back. As I told you, the moment you will lose this case, you will have to submit around $97,000. So this case is clear that we have not any kind of misunderstanding. So what I need you to do is that you need to give me the local RCMP at least now, okay?
Okay.
And I'll be calling them right now and be requesting them to cancel your arrest warrant. As I have seen your past records, there's nothing like that. Just for this issue.
It's 604.
Just a moment. Yeah. Okay. Just give me a moment over here. Let me verify this number. Past records, there's nothing like that. Just for this issue.
It's 604.
Just a moment. Yeah. Okay. Just give me a moment over here. Let me verify this number.
Oh, so I think I read it wrong. Can I do it again?
Yes, sure. You can tell me the number.
604 717 3321.
That is, yes, of course. It's Vancouver Police Department, of course. Now, Mr. Jackson, I'll be dialing this number and I'll be, hello, my name is Officer Ellie Cooper from Canada Revenue Agency. Can I know with whom I'm talking to? Hello, Officer Shaw. How are you doing today? Yes. I'm fine, thank you. Well, sir, if you can check, there is an arrest warrant for Mr. Jackson, for Matthew Jackson. Yes, his arrest warrant ID is 419JR11. Well, Mr. Shaw, he's online with me. I just had a word with him. He says it's a mistake, and he needs to take care of the situation right now. Yes, but I feel he's innocent. Yes, I know, Mr. Shaw. I agree there is a warrant already out, but I feel he's innocent. Sure, if you wanna call him on his number, yeah, his cell phone number is 604. Thank you. Have a good day. Mr. Jackson, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Yeah, Mr. Jackson, I had a word with the RCMP officer. They're not ready to give you the resolution option, but he said that he will be giving you a call on your cell phone number right now, okay?
Should we hang up because it's the same phone I'm calling from?
No, Mr. Jackson, don't worry. Like which phone you're using right now?
The same phone that you have the phone number.
No, which, like, is it a smartphone, Android?
No, it's the home landline.
It's a landline. Oh my God, then how he'll be giving you a call? Give me your cell phone number. If you can give me his cell phone number.
No, it's okay. I don't think I need to talk to the RCMP. I think I understand what this is about now.
Mr. Jackson, the thing is that he has told me that he wants to have a word with you. Then only he can decide that you are, eligible to have a, resolvement option or not. Just have a word with them. Just tell your situation to them. Then only we can decide anything. Don't worry.
Yeah. I don't want to give my cell phone number though. Can they just call to this number and then I call you back?
Okay, you can hang up the call. I will be, they'll be giving you a call on this landline. Don't worry. Okay?
Okay, thank you. They are on my tail. Let's see if the RCMP officer will call me back. Hopefully we can resolve this somehow. I don't want to go to jail, but I don't want to pay $6,000 too. Hello?
Hi, this is Officer Nate Shaw from the RCMP division.
Yes?
Talking to Jolly right now. Well, we have received a call from the Canada Revenue Agency, and they're stating that they have filed a case under your name. Are you at your home right now?
Yeah.
Can I send my team right now over there so that we can take you into the custody?
Oh, I want to see what it is about. I don't want to just go to jail for some mistake that probably those guys made.
All right, we have received a call from the Canada Revenue Agency, and they're stating that you want to take care of the situation. Is that correct?
Yes. First of all, I think it's a mistake. I try to do everything right and cover my footsteps, and not that I've done anything wrong again, but I'm sure there must be a mistake somewhere.
Well, I want you to give me one good reason that why should I allow you to take care of the case.
Because I'm sure they made a mistake. I always review my files multiple times. I don't make mistakes.
All right, just stay on the line. Let me check your past record and see if we can allow you to resolve the case or not, okay? All right, Matthew, I can see over here that you are an innocent person and you do not have any criminal records in the past. All right. Now, I can see that I'm giving you 45 minutes as the arrest warrant is already signed up to resolve the matter. Now, as you are an innocent person, I would suggest you not to make any payment using your debit card, credit card, or check. If you do so, then your name will be in the case. It will create a red mark in your future tax payment.
Okay.
I can suggest you a payment method. Please write it down, okay?
Sure.
It is BIT machine, Bureau Income Tax Machine, okay?
Okay.
It's a unique ATM where you need to take cash in and deposit the cash in the ATM, and your transaction will be done without creating any negative marks on your name. One more thing before I hang up. I have given you a resolvent option only because you are an innocent person. If at all I get a call from that officer from the Canada Revenue Agency telling me that you're not cooperating, let me inform you I won't be giving you a second chance at all.
But is there any chance to like review the files and see if there is a mistake?
Definitely you can review the case, all right?
But I can't do it in 48 hours, you said, can we?
Now, listen to me, okay? Just talk to that officer. They are the correct person to guide you. I've given you a resolvent option only because you are innocent. We have 45 minutes, which we have given to you. All right? Now, once you get a call from that officer, just talk to her and try to resolve the case as soon as possible. I wish you best of luck, okay?
Okay, thank you. I guess they'll call me back again. Bureau. Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hello?
Hello? Yeah?
Are you there?
Yes?
Okay. Okay, did you have a word with your accountant? With the RCMP number officer?
Yes, I did.
Okay. What else did they say?
They gave me a BIT machine that like I have to go deposit money into, but there is no number, account number or anything. I don't.
Mr. Jackson, right now the payment options are closed. This is not possible. So, but Mr. Jackson, can you give me a cell phone number?
Oh no, this number you have is fine. I don't want to provide my cell phone number.
So that I can call on your cell phone number and it will be easier for me and for you, right? Can you give me a cell phone number?
No, I don't want to.
You don't want to? Okay, Mr. Jackson, that means you're not cooperating with us. So then I will call the RCMP officer that if he is not interested in the talk. So how will I be able to give you the resolvent option if you're not cooperating with us?
No, you just want. I just have to pay them money, right, to resolve this. Why do you need my cell phone number? I just want to.
No money is had. Do you have cell phone or not?
I have a cell phone, but I use it for work. I don't want to share it with anyone.
You don't want to share it with anyone? That means you're not cooperating with us. That means we are not ready to give you the resolvent option. I'm so sorry for that. Because the information, Mr. RCMP officer has given you the permission to resolve the case. And right now you're making excuses like you cannot give me the cell phone number. Is it a way or what? We are here to help you out and you are saying me like this. Then it's confidential and all.
What do you want to do with the cell phone number, though? I mean, we are already talking to each other. What do you want my cell phone number?
Mr. Jackson, for resolvent option, for resolving this case, you need to have a good smartphone. I need to have your cell phone number. That is the reason. Because we cannot resolve the case with the landline.
But landline is more secure than the cell phone number. It's like it's always available.
Jackson, you are telling you about security. You can record the lines and you can take it to the RCMP. And of course, you have talked to the RCMP officer. Let me tell you, because of this conversation, your 48 minutes is going on. You're wasting your time. And after this, you'll not be getting any time anymore.
Can't I just pay the money and get it over with?
Mr. Jackson, how will it pay the money with landlines? It's impossible.
I can't pay it with my cell phone either, right? I may have to go online and pay it or give you my credit card or something.
Okay, can you tell me the payment method which RCMP officer has given to you?
They told me BIT machine.
BIT machine. And you know what? In BIT machine, you need a cell phone. Without cell phone, you cannot make resolvement.
Is it like an app that I have to install on my phone?
No, it's not an app. It's just that you will have a QR code at your WhatsApp or your, after any conversation talk. Then you will have to scan that. And something procedure is like that. I don't know deep inside that as I'm a junior officer. But if you can tell me your number, I can go further with that. With the landline, you cannot go outside your home with the landline.
Okay, fine. Here's my cell phone number. Are you ready?
Yeah. Yes, I'm here.
604. Oops, I hung up. There, she's back. Hello?
Jackson, why did you hang up the call?
Oh, sorry, it's just disconnected, I think.
Okay, Mr. Jackson, please cooperate with us because these are recorded lines. Yeah, go ahead. It's
Yeah.
04.
No, sorry, I was lying to you. I know you are scammers. I was just having fun with you. So don't worry about it. You don't need to follow up. She just hung up as soon as I said there are scammers. Can you believe that? Poor Mr. Jackson was going to be scammed by these idiots. So yeah, be careful, people. Never provide your information on the phone to any government official that you're not sure if they are actually government officials. No credit card numbers, nothing. They must send a letter to your address and confirm everything. They can't just send you to jail based on some mumbo-jumbo accusations. So unless it's in a writing, in a letter, it's not true. And verify all the contact information in the letter online first, because that letter might be a scam too. And in general, be careful. You don't want to give your personal information to anyone. If they are contacting you because you have done something wrong, they already know all your information. They know you're not Mr. Matthew Jackson from Granville Street. So if they take the false information you're providing to them without any complaints, it means that they're obviously fake Matthew Jackson.
Hi, we are once again in the airport, this time traveling to Cuba. And we are finally here. Now, where is the outlet? Oh, there is one there.
Hello, my love. I'll check you later.
Hey, look what I found. The breaker box is right in the room. It's nice. Do they have GFCI? This one, from what I see here, does look like has some sort of ground fault connection, like RCI or something. Something worth trying. I see traces of some excitement here. Was I here before? It's been raining and our hotel is flooding on the 4th floor. Oh my god.
Good clean fun, isn't it?
I mean, sure, the maintenance is lacking and the hotel is a bit run down and the country is struggling financially because of politics, but people are very nice and the nature is very good here and the electrical system in the hotel seems pretty up to date. Well, I mean, at least in the parts where electricity works. I mean, I showed you the fuse panel already. It seems they have one RCI that protects the entire room against ground fault. And this is the test. Yeah, it works. There you go. And unlike our Hawaiian hotel that had a broken GFCI and a bad, what is it, smoke detector, this one seems to have an updated one that with a green light that is blinking profusely. So this is functional. They don't have outlets with GFCI in the bathroom, but the outlets they have, I think these are on transformers that are isolated from ground. I should check those. And again, it doesn't matter that they don't have GFCI. It's like the European, Italian one I tested in Italy. They have one ground fault protection system for the entire room. How do I even check to see if this is isolated from ground? Is this ground? In any case, it seems like this outlet that is made for shavers only has a 110 volt output and a 220 volt output with different type of outlets, but as you can see here, you can plug whatever that goes in here into here as well. So don't plug a 110 volt device accidentally in here unless your device specifically says it's good for both voltages. Okay, checking its voltage, and it's 120 volts. And the one on the top, these tiny protective doors don't even open. Damn it! I can't plug my adapter in here. Can't plug my charger in here. Are they locked for good? Maybe I can shove my tiny probes in there somehow. Oh, there you go. But they are not connecting to any contacts. I'm not reading any voltages. Okay, maybe then just the 110 volt is useful. Well, let's assume it's isolated and read the voltage between one of the outputs to assumably ground here, and we are reading 113 volts. And if I move it to the other one, I read 230 volts? What's going on? So there seems to be some massive voltages between that outlet contacts to ground. But are they real voltages, or they'll go away as soon as I load them a little bit? Like as soon as I touch them, the voltage drops to very low levels and is safe. There is only one way to try it out. So here's the plan. I put my meter on current, so basically it's a short circuit. And I put a 1.8 kilo at the end of one of the probes, and for example, if I put this between the 110 volt, what I'll see is a burned Yes, the resistor burns because there is so much current running through it. Now I picked a fresh resistor and I'll connect one side of the probe to the power here and the other side to earth and see if it blows like this. See? Nothing's happening to the resistor. I'm reading
0.23 milliamps. Let's see, 0.3 milliamps through 1.8 kilo ohms.
It means there is
0.54
volts across the resistor. Yeah, it's safe levels. Let's put it on the other side. Connect my resistor here, and this time I'm reading...
Same, 0.34 milliamps.
So yeah, I guess it's safe to touch. Ow, ow! The hell? It's supposed to be isolated, but I can still feel it. Damn it! Wasn't much though. Ouch! I'm not even on ground. Why am I feeling this? This is the side that was showing 230 volts. What is this one? Can I feel this one? Okay, the side that was showing 120 volts, I don't feel anything on that one. But the side that was showing 230 volts to ground... Ow, ow! I feel it a little bit, it's zapping me. Maybe this tap is not grounded. But then again, I'm not grounded either. Why am I getting shocked? If I bypass the resistor and directly connect it there, see, there are no arcs. So yes, I guess it is isolated from ground. Otherwise, there would be like tens of amps running. But it also teaches us never underestimate the power of capacitive coupling. I'm sure the input line powers are coupled to those output voltages through capacitive coupling, and some current is running through, although it seems like it's around the safe levels. It shocks you a little bit but doesn't kill you, hopefully. Now let me check the outlets here. 230 volts, 60 hertz. So all the outlets in this room are 230 volts instead of 120. So you have to be very careful plugging your stuff in here. Make sure it also supports 230 volts. Let me measure the voltage. Oh, good thing my meter tells me when I accidentally put it on current, otherwise it will blow up. And we have 236 volts and the frequencies 60 hertz as promised. Okay, let's see first that which one is live and which one is neutral. Well, typically this one with a longer input is neutral, but so this is reading 240 volts. I was wrong. And this side to earth is reading 0. Huh. It's different in America and Canada. The shorter one is supposed to be live and the longer one is supposed to be neutral. It's backwards here. Well, let's check another one of these outlets. This one to earth. What? This one is 0? And this one is 240? Well, I found your first failure in the room. How about this one here? So earth to the shorter contact is 240. Ha! So based on 2 out of 3, it seems like it is supposed to be like American and Canadian standard. But in this one, the long contact to ground is 240 volts. Someone wired it wrong. Well, I don't have time to fix it for them. I have a tiny potentiometer and I'm gonna check to see if the ground fault protection actually works by increasing the current gradually. So I suppose if I plug in my trusty naked wire in, the voltage between the white wire, which is typically neutral, but in this case live, and the green white wire should be 240 volts. So I connect my potentiometer between زب نشه میذارم رو فیلم. Love of God. Okay, so the ground fault protection works. Unplug first. First I try to connect my potentiometer like so, although it does look a bit sketchy too. I just hold it solid like this so it won't short. Plug that in. Now slowly turn the potentiometer, reducing the resistance and increase the current until the ground fault protection pops. Hopefully soon. Come on, where are you? What's going on? I don't have a voltage anymore. Oh, I see. The other breaker popped too. Nice. So the breakers are actually healthy. That's good. Plug in again. Slowly turn the potentiometer until the breaker pops. Damn it! Not again. What? This time the power is not coming back up?
Can someone please tell me why these aren't standard?
I think this time a breaker outside in the hallways popped. I have to call someone again. The power is fixed, but on the bright side, I realized that the technician who fixed our power had such bad tools and screwdrivers, he was barely able to open the screws. So I passed on LTT's fancy screwdriver to him and he was happy. Thanks, Linus. That means I have to turn my potentiometers by hand now. And now we are going to Havana to see what's going on there. Okay, this hostel, or they call hostel, seems much better than our resort. Let's see if we can find its breakers. Well, I found the breakers to the rooms. They're all here. So it should be safe to test here, I guess. So many interesting architecture in the city. So in our room we have outlets, 110 volts here, 220 here, another 110, and the lights are plugged into 110 as well. So I guess we have both 110 and 220 in our room. The only issue is that these outlets are not different at all, which means you could accidentally plug something that should be running on 110 into 220 and blow it up. Ooh, nice. There is a 220 volt outlet right here by the sink. Is it isolated? Is it protected? We will find out soon. Okay, first thing first. Let's see. So here we have 245 volts. If I connect one side to earth, we have 30 volts AC. This is the stuff you can get free energy from. And checking the other contact. What is this? That side is also 26 volts. Are they both isolated from ground? Maybe they are. Well, good. It seems like the 220 volt outlet is isolated from the ground anyway, which makes it safer. Unlike the 110 volt, I assume. Here we have 120 volts. Checking the live to earth. What? We only have 3 volt AC? How about the other contact? What? 17 volts? Is everything isolated from earth ground here? Did they forget to connect earth in all the outlets here? Or maybe that's intentional. You know, because if no earth is connected, if you accidentally touch live wire, it's less likely to get electrocuted unless you touch both live and neutral, in which case ground doesn't help anyways. I mean, if none of the live outlets has any reference to earth ground, the ground fault protection, GFCI or RCI, wouldn't trigger anyways. If you touch the live wire and stay on ground, there is no current running through you to trigger it. So maybe the system is safe like this. Well, now that I have this thing plugged in and I have my shoes on, not touching any ground, let's touch these wires one by one and see how I feel. No, don't try this, okay? I just want to make sure they are truly isolated. Well, I am isolated anyways. Starting with earth. Yeah, I feel nothing. The white wire, whatever it is. Yeah, nothing. And lastly, the black one. Nothing. True isolation. I guess that's what makes the system inherently safe. If there is no connection between the live voltages from the outlets to ground, any single point of failure wouldn't cause any real danger to the user. I think I've seen this system before in Japan maybe, because they didn't have any ground either. But the real question is, why is there different systems running in this country? One without ground, completely isolated, and the other one with the ground fault protection? I don't know. Important thing is that they were all functional so far, which is more than I can say about those systems in Hawaii. So I guess, sure, the country is struggling in some aspects, but at least they have their electrical system figured out. You know, safe tourism is important. nobody's gonna know.
They're gonna know.
I lost the sole of my shoe here, but nobody's gonna know. As you can see, we are enjoying the rain and the weather. Yeah, it's not that bad. We are back in our Baradero hotel, and I feel a little bit bad about last time that I blew up my potentiometer and tripped the breaker and the technician had to come and fix everything. So let's try it again, because last time I didn't actually check and see if the ground fault protection trips at 30 milliamps. Let's do it. This time I don't have my Linus driver. I think it's better to make do with fixed resistors. Here we have a 10 kilo ohm resistor series with my current meter on 240 volt, which should give me like 24 milliamps. Let's see if it trips the breaker. Oop, took a while, but it popped. Fortunately, there you go. This time there's no explosion and the power is back. Let's change the resistance. Fine, I'll use my puny potentiometer. But this time, I adjust it first to the value I want, then plug it in. Okay, so I set my potentiometer to around 12 kilo ohms for around 20 milliamp of RMS current, or a bit less than 30 milliamp peak current. Let's plug it in. Ooh, this guy popped and came back.
Welcome to Liberty Falls. Population? Well, less than
Hello,
yesterday.
long time no see. How have you been? What's new? Have you seen any cool birds lately? I have. I saw a hummingbird sitting down right outside my window the other day. Never seen that before. They're always in motion when I see them, so that was pretty cool. But what's arguably even cooler is that we have finally arrived at the Triassic period, which lasted from 252 to 201 million years ago. The Paleozoic is over. Now we're in the first phase of the Mesozoic, also known as the age of the dinosaurs. The Triassic is often thought of as just the beginning of that, when the dinosaurs first evolved. But man oh man, was it much more than that, which is why it took me a month to research this video. There is a lot of shit to cover, because the Triassic came immediately after the most devastating mass extinction of all time that we know of. And so this period was a time of recovery, and also a time of an explosion of diversity that can only be compared to that of the Cambrian. Yeah, this is nature's acid trip 2.0. So without further ado, my name is Lindsay Nicole, and this is the history of life on Earth that we know of. Let's get the global conditions out of the way. As we know from last time, supercontinent Pangaea is in full swing. And still is, until the very end of this period when it starts to break apart a bit. In the most general sense, generally, the most general form of generally, global climates in the Triassic were relatively warm, with little to no ice at the poles, and went from drier to more humid as time went on and Pangaea started to break apart. Usually at this point, I maybe go more in depth on those points, set you up with some necessary context before we get into life of the Triassic. But this time it's a little bit different because of the mass extinction. We've covered periods that have followed mass extinctions before, i.e. the Silurian following the Ordovician, the Carboniferous after the Devonian. But neither of those were as catastrophic as the mass extinction that came right before the Triassic. You probably remember they call it the Great Dying, for good reason. 90% of all species went extinct and up to 96% in the oceans. Wiped out. This wasn't just gaps in the food web that needed to be reoccupied. This was entire ecosystems, from the bottom to the top, completely obliterated all over the world. This was a global reset, using the bits and pieces that were left barely hanging on by a thread. A good friend of mine, who you might know as Paleoanalysis, has covered the Triassic on his own channel from a few different angles. And he's also working on his own History of the Earth series that I highly recommend checking out. It is sick. So I figured it would be best for him to set up the context for the rest of this period, kind of give you a little preview of what's to come, some cool animals that are to come. I'm super excited to have him on in this video. He's actually the first collaborator I figured out before I even started working on this series. His approach to prehistory is really fun, and in his History of the Earth series in particular, he has these little characters that you watch and follow along with, and you watch them evolve as time goes by. It's just so cool. So if you haven't seen him already, I'm honored to introduce you to him, and I'm going to hand it to him now to set the stage for what's to come in this episode. Steve, take it away.
Thanks for having me, Lindsay. Hi there. I'm Steve from Paleoanalysis. Now, Lindsay's already talked about all the weirdness that has existed on Earth throughout the Paleozoic era already. And out of everything, I would say that probably the Cambrian is the most alien life has appeared. Until now. And if you think about it, the main reason why animal life would branch into so many different bizarre forms in the beginning of complex life that we know of, would be the same driving force behind life in the Triassic turning into things like this and this. And that force is adaptive radiation. Because there were so many vacant niches left by the missing flora and fauna that would eventually be filled by the survivors left to inherit the Earth. The Cambrian is such a big example of this because literally all the niches were getting filled by new organisms. Well, the Permian ended with the biggest extinction event our planet has ever endured. And we see in the Triassic that there are a lot of new groups arising to fill the roles left vacant by this catastrophic event. On land, the Therapsids went from being one of the most dominant groups of vertebrates on the planet to being a shell of what they used to be, with one of the largest ones left being the roughly dog-sized Muscarinus, which was the last of the Theracephalians. Now, the reason why the synapsids probably went this route, getting smaller, was because the post-Great Dying world was probably far less suited to endothermic mammal-like animals. During the first half of the Triassic, the majority of the land was mostly hot and arid. But as it turns out, this environment happens to work out much better for animals that get a large portion of their energy directly from the sun. And as a result, it is the reptiles that undergo the most adaptive radiation during this time. Now, when we talk about modern reptiles, we normally think of lizards, snakes, turtles, and crocodilians, and the tuatara, but I'm not going to talk about that. Hey, actually, this happens to be the perfect time to talk about that. Lindsay, talk about the tuatara. But during the Triassic, we see the beginnings of different families that don't fit into any classifications that we have today. Things like Tanystropheus and Placotis and Adipodentatus. Now, something that all of these butt babies have in common is that they were all responding to the Triassic environment by heading back to the coast and adapting to be semi-aquatic. Tanystropheus used its long neck and tiny head to feed on schooling fish, and Placotis used its battery of crushing tooth lumps to grind up the shells of invertebrates. And this direct ancestor of South Park's Jackophosor probably was a herbivore, using its wide, flat mouth to feed on algae and aquatic plants. And as bad as the Permian extinction destroyed life on land, it affected the oceans even worse. So it makes sense that there was a lot of creatures moving back into the oceans. And we see a few more that were becoming even more well adapted to this lifestyle, with marine pursuit predators like the nothosaurs. And for those of you who look at this and say, well, that just looks like a big lizard, to that I say, well, yeah, but its name literally means false lizard, so you're wrong. This is actually a very unique creature. Its interlocking teeth, paddle-like feet, and streamlined muscular body were perfect for catching fish. Oftentimes, this animal has actually been compared to the reptile equivalent of seals. And this genus would actually become very successful and diverse, ranging from little guys around 80 centimeters or 2.6 feet long to the biggest Nothosaurus giganteus, which measured up to 7 meters or 23 feet long. This would have been enough to make the Nothosaurs the top predators of the Triassic seas, if it wasn't for one other group beating them to that spot. After 16 million years of the world being hot and dry, that was about to change. Around 234 million years ago, an event known as the Carnian Pluvial Episode would begin, an event that would completely turn the global climate on its head. This lasted around 2 million years, and is really the thing that marked the beginning of what the world would be like for a long time to come. The event is thought to have been triggered by the eruption of large areas of flood basalts. This pumped a large amount of CO2 into the atmosphere and triggered global warming. And this led to an unprecedented increase in humidity and rain. Which sounds good, right? until you think about the fact that life has spent the past 16 million years adapting to the exact opposite. So, many of the animals that evolved in the first half of the Triassic didn't survive this event. And even more would happen at the end of the Triassic. Again, thank you so much to Lindsay for having me on. My name's Steve. This is Tim. Try your best to ignore him.
Hey.
And feel free to check out my channel, Paleoanalysis, where I talk about the history of life on Earth. Have a good one, everybody.
So, like we always do, we're going to go about this video in sections to make way for the main show. Kind of build up the environments, telling you what's going on in those, in order to place the major players properly. So, let's get into it. Starting off with the plants. As you will come to see time and time again throughout this entire series, seeds are very resistant to environmental stressors. They have a major leg up over eggs for that reason. Like I mentioned before, eggs suck compared to seeds. So, because of this, seeded plants like seed ferns and conifers were able to make it out, and were able to be present in the form of forests pretty early on into the Triassic, which turned out to be great for animals that were regaining their footing, as you will see in a bit. And as time went on, it was kind of just smooth sailing for them. They formed more and more vast forests, and fossil evidence suggests that some of the trees in these forests could get to about 100 feet tall, which you might be thinking, yawn, we've got redwoods and sequoias, so whatever. But considering this was so soon after the biggest catastrophe the world has ever seen that we know of, it's pretty impressive. Gotta celebrate the small wins too. Wait, I almost forgot. I wanted to show you one of my air plants. I have air plants up here, and I have other ones that are closer to my window, and one of them looks like this now. I think it's happy. It literally looked like these. It was all green, and then one day the leaves started turning red, and I was like, maybe it's because it's summer. Succulents do that too. I don't know anything about plants. But then all of a sudden, these two thick purple things started showing up, like kind of inside of it. I'm gonna be honest, the day I noticed that, I'd had a little bit of cannabis, and seeing those two thick purple things really freaked me out. Thought something was existentially wrong. You know, the whole song and dance. Turns out that it's happy, and it's blooming, and I posted it on my Instagram, because I was like, oh, I don't know what the fuck is going on. I've never seen an air plant do this. I guess it's ready to reproduce, and then it's gonna start dying, but some buds might come off of it that will be bigger than this one. So, I'll keep you updated. Later in the Triassic, some of the more primitive plant groups that you might remember from before started to make more of an appearance again. Your horsetails, your club mosses, your liverworts. They were not only recovering, but it seems like they were thriving. Their presence suggests that the climate was becoming more humid, since they like when it is humid. They were definitely smaller than seed plants overall, but that didn't matter to the tiny little guys you might usually think of in the context of plants. They eat it. They find shelter in it. They are so small. Yeah, the insects. They love vegetation of all sizes. They don't discriminate. You know them, they're fucking all over it. Many of the key modern insect groups you might think of really started to establish themselves in the Triassic. A lot of them have origins that are found earlier, but then Triassic came, and boom, they are present, such as Diptera. You might be familiar with today's flies. Also, Lepidoptera, the modern bisexual symbol. Yeah, moths and butterflies. And also Hymenoptera, today's bees, wasps, and ants. Yes, they are all related to each other. That might have made you kind of uncomfortable for a second when you think about it a little bit. Makes sense. And it's like, okay, now you're back to comfortable. Well, I'm gonna make it uncomfortable again for you. Bees and ants evolved from wasps, which means bees and ants are technically wasps. Yes. Heinous. I know. Also, I forgot to mention last time, beetles are a thing now too. They were since the Permian, that we know of, which is insane considering their existence is one of my favorite fun facts. Did you know 25% of all discovered animal species are beetles? 1 in 4 species we've discovered alive today is a beetle. That's about 350,000 species of just beetles. That's a shit ton of beetles. And if you decide to stick around and subscribe, you're probably gonna hear me say that about a dozen more times, if not indefinitely. Beetles rock. Okay, back to Hymenoptera. I want to talk about the wasps a little bit more, which sucks because I hate saying wasps. Bees and ants weren't a thing yet and wouldn't be for another handful of millions and millions of years. The earliest Hymenopterans were kind of the basic sawfly, just a few millimeters long, ate plants and minded their business. This was the earliest form of the wasp. Pretty cute. But at some point there was a shift to the more sinister style we're more familiar with, and it goes way beyond having a stinger that fucking sucks. It was the shift to parasitoidism. The development of the parasitoid wasp seems to have happened sometime during the Triassic. Parasitoids and parasites are pretty similar, but not the same. I know it sounds like I'm just trying to sound smart, but they are different things. You can kind of get the gist of what a parasitoid is based on what you know about parasites, but they are different things. So I'm going to make the distinction anyway because it's an important one. So, a parasite, as we are familiar with, is an organism that lives off nutrients obtained from a host, i.e. another organism, and usually causes harm but does not kill the host, because then the host is of no use. Some classic examples would be tapeworms, head lice, ticks, etc. You can kind of think of it as a lifestyle choice. Parasitoids, on the other hand, you can kind of think of as a parenting choice. They only use their host for a specific time in their life cycle, usually as children, and then eventually kill the host. That's the deal. They kill it. That's the whole thing. I'll give you an example. The tarantula hawk. The wasp you might be familiar with from Coyote Peterson's Sting series. The wasp stings a tarantula, paralyzing it. Not killing it, but paralyzing it. Lays eggs on it. The eggs hatch, and the larvae eat the paralyzed tarantula alive, taking nutrients from it and also eventually its life. That's what parasitoids got going on. Usually parasitoids people talk about are parasitoid wasps, but they can also be things like worms. There's a worm for everything, like the horsehair worms that we talked about in the What the Fuck Is This series. So to summarize, parasites are usually a lifestyle choice and don't kill the host. And parasitoids are usually a parenting choice and do kill the host. And parasitoid wasps seem to have evolved sometime in the Triassic. This became the dominant lifestyle strategy for hymenopterans until bees and ants evolved, and remains the dominant lifestyle strategy for wasps to this day. But luckily, that does not include yellow jackets and hornets. They're not parasitoids, their stings just suck. Another major development that happened for hymenopterans as a whole was the development of the snatched wasp waist. The first and second segments of the abdomen became constricted, which allowed for greater flexibility and maneuverability, and it's thought to have played a huge role in the diversification of wasps as a whole. Alright, let's move on by building up some context in the oceans. Like I had mentioned, they seem to have suffered a slightly more devastating loss than ecosystems on land did. The biggest blow was with the corals. Just to recap, corals are cnidarians, related to jellyfish, sea anemones, etc. One of the oldest animal lineages that we know of, and have generally existed as a kind of backdrop in marine ecosystems, especially the corals. Coral reefs literally define some of the most diverse ecosystems on the planet. It's hard to imagine the oceans without them. So with the major hit to the corals during the Great Dying, coming out of it, there were no reefs. I know, depressing as fuck. Before the mass extinction, there were two main groups of corals, Rugosa and Tabulata. Extinction hit, then boom. No corals in the fossil record for something between 10 to 14 million years. It's what scientists call the coral gap. It's so significant in the context of this recovery that they have a name for it. Then sometime during the Middle Triassic, a more modern group of coral appears in the fossil record seemingly out of nowhere. The scleractinian corals. Where they came from? Scientists don't know. They could have evolved from rugose corals that somehow survived the mass extinction, or evolved from some anemone-like ancestor, but their origin remains a mystery due to the elusive coral gap. But remember, this was a time of innovation due to devastation, Croatian, crustacean, cetacean. It was a time of spreading out, rebuilding ecosystems quickly. And so in many groups, the survivors developed new abilities that can be seen in their descendants today, like new predatory strategies, like within gastropods that we know and love today as snails and slugs. Their Triassic relatives developed the ability to drill through the holes of their prey, allowing them to feed on the soft, delicious flesh inside. There were also some new abilities with the malacostricans that we know and love today as crabs, lobsters, shrimp, etc. Some of their ancestors developed the ability to snip through hard skeletons. And what do you know? Many malacostricans today love doing shit like that. What about vertebrates in the water, i.e. fish? I'm gonna be honest, they don't really come up a lot in general Triassic contexts. They're acknowledged very briefly, like, yes, there were fish, but luckily I did manage to find one formidable species to show you. A species that was described pretty recently in 2017. Made news because their presence so early in the Triassic was unexpected. Bergeria americana. Sounds like mud. Bergeria americana. One of the earliest marine apex predators following the mass extinction that we know of. This fish was a clear-cut predator. The fossil had 3 rows of sharp, 2-centimeter long teeth in their massive jaws. And scientists have estimated they would have been about 6 feet long, which again, I know, doesn't sound crazy. Some of you are probably 6 feet long. But in terms of like the biggest catastrophe the world has ever seen that we know of, literally just happened. 6 feet for a fish is big. It was shocking. It was unexpected. This discovery suggests that apex predators evolved much earlier than previously thought, or re-evolved. A lot of what we know about Bergeria americana comes from Bergeria cousins that were alive all around the world later during the Triassic. They ended up becoming a classic fish in the global seas. So showing up even earlier than expected, more points to them. When you think of apex predator and fish, your brain probably goes to sharks. So let me give you a rundown on Triassic sharks. Honestly, it's a shitty update. It's very lackluster. The Triassic is when the more modern ancestors of sharks, skates, and rays started replacing the more primitive ones. That's it. And not entirely, immediately, but it just kind of became noticeable here. That's all I really have to tell you. The Triassic fossil record does not really highlight any cool sharks, at least that I know of. Papers kind of just mention them in the most general sense and then move on. So, stay tuned for cool ones in the next episode. Now we're starting to enter the moment you've probably been waiting for. Creatures of the limbed variety. This is where shit starts to get weird, and we're just gonna take it one step at a time. Starting with the amphibians, who were obviously doing great throughout the later parts of the Paleozoic. And as early Triassic communities were rebuilding themselves, the remaining members were still there as some of the dominant players in these new ecosystems, specifically the temnospondyls, which came in a variety of shapes and sizes, and continued to diversify throughout the Triassic. You had your salamander-like builds, you had your crocodile-like builds, absolute tanks like Mastodonsaurus, the largest of which had skulls that were 4 feet long. Just the skulls. 4 feet long. There were also, you weird bitches are gonna love these, Plagiosaurs that had heads wider than they were long. I like them a lot, to be honest. They look like they're here for a good time, and that's it. Just flat and ready to fuck shit up. This is also when the ancestors to true frogs appear in the fossil record, also known as stem frogs, like Triadobatrachus, the earliest record of the frog shape. But again, not true frog. True frogs appear for the first time as full-fledged frogs. That is a tongue twister. Full-fledged frogs in the fossil record in the early Jurassic. So with the presence of Triadobatrachus in the Triassic, it's safe to say they evolved sometime in the late Triassic that we know of for now. Who knows? It could always be earlier. So, remember in the Permian, I talked about this kind of tug of war that has been going on between synapsids and sauropsids since they first really established themselves, and has gone on to this day. In the Permian, the synapsids had the upper hand. Their diversity was nuts, and they consisted of some of the largest and most dominant species in terrestrial ecosystems that we know of. Now, knowing what we know about the age of the dinosaurs, specifically from mainstream media, it probably won't surprise you to find out that throughout the Triassic, the sauropsids started to get the upper hand. Both groups experienced big developments in locomotion, growth rates. The average size of both groups was larger in the Triassic than it was in the Permian, but the sauropsids took over nonetheless. That will be very clear by the end of this video. Let's start with the synapsids, the ancestors to mammals. Our story kind of left off on them in the Permian, on Lystrosaurus in particular. They, along with other synapsids, were luckily able to make it out of the mass extinction and paved the way for some developing traits that were moving closer and closer to what we think of as mammals today. Something they were obviously completely unaware of and was irrelevant to their existence. We are also moving closer and closer to a form that will be more familiar to something living 500 million years in the future, or maybe just 10 million, whatever. Evolution isn't directional, shit just happened that way. You know what the fuck I'm talking about. So back in the Permian, synapsids kind of had a mix of different postures, sprawling out, kind of like a lizard, which was the original form, and more upright, kind of more like a dog or a rhino or any mammal alive today. The upright posture allowed for movement with greater speed and agility, and became the dominant synapsid form in the Triassic. It also seems like fur and whiskers must have developed here, if not earlier. I kind of mentioned potential whisker pits found in a cynodont from the Permian, but it was kind of iffy. The ancestor to the entire mammalian tree was alive in the Triassic, a type of cynodont, remember a specific type of synapsid, until different groups started branching out, like monotremes, which are today's platypuses and echidnas. They branched off sometime in the early Jurassic. They have fur. And then marsupials and placental mammals, the true mammals, they have fur too. There's no reason to believe that mammalian fur evolved more than once, so it's safe to say that it must have developed sometime in the Triassic, as the common ancestor must have passed it down to the eventual branches. So, a lot of cynodonts in the Triassic are reconstructed with this in mind, resulting in something like this. Diademodon. Kind of looks like a mix between a dog and a wombat. Cute as fuck. Also, I like their name. Diademodon. 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 Sounds like Doug Dimmadome.
My name is Doug Dimmadome, owner of the Dimsdale Dimmadome.
Diademodon was alive between the middle to late Triassic period and got to between 3 to 6 feet long. They had robust skulls with large canines and closely packed cheek teeth, which indicates they were probably herbivores or carnivores. Which reminds me, I had something I wanted to say, but I didn't know where to put it, so I guess I'm gonna put it right here. I don't know if your brain works like mine, but when I think back to how I viewed animals as a kid, I guess I kind of thought of plant eaters as like the basic form, and then the meat eaters as the more advanced form, which led to a kind of foundational assumption that meat eaters must have evolved from plant eaters, or herbivores are the original trait and carnivores are the derived trait. Well, that's not really the case at all. And actually, the original trait among tetrapods on land was carnivore, carnivory, and each group had members move to a more herbivorous lifestyle and accumulated traits in order to be able to do that. In the Permian, we saw a few different groups of synapsids do this, like Cotylarhynchus. They ate plants. and lots of them. Sauropsids too, like the Pariasaurs. The vegetarian movement was already up and running. But there was definitely an even greater shift into herbivory following the mass extinction into the Triassic across many different groups. But anyway, you're probably wondering what happened to Listersaurus after the mass extinction. Well, held on for a while, but eventually went extinct during the early part of the Triassic. Like Steve said, there was a lot of shit going on, a lot against them. So, they were an evolutionary dead end. Sad. But that doesn't mean that some of their other Dicynodont relatives all went with them. Because by the middle Triassic, there was a Dicynodont that was about the size of a modern elephant walking the planet, called Lissavicia, which I kept pronouncing as Lisa Wicia in my head when I was researching, but it's Lissavicia. I like my pronunciation better, but whatever. It's pronounced that way because the first fossil specimen found of it was in a village called Lissavice in Poland in 2005, and it was massive, about 15 feet long, 8.5 feet tall, and estimated to weigh somewhere between 13 to 16,000 pounds. So, about the same size as a large male African bush elephant, and about 40% larger than any previously found Dicynodont, just absolutely demolishing the standard. So, that's synapsids. Now we're moving on to the sauropsids, the biggest section of this video. I'm gonna be honest, I had a really hard time figuring out how to organize this. I kind of wanted to do it like smallest to biggest species for the, the factor of it. But considering how drastically different early Triassic species were from later Triassic species, I thought that was going to be confusing because I wanted to make the distinction, like these are early Triassic, these are late Triassic. So I decided what I'm going to do is go through each section, and within each section, start from early Triassic to late Triassic. So that's how we're going to go about it. I think this was the best way to do it, but let me know, because I think shit is just going to become more complicated as time goes on with these series episodes. So I'm gonna let you in on a little behind the scenes insider scoop. The outline for this video was so long that I realized that I was gonna need 2 days to film it. So I already set aside 2 separate days. This is day 2. And then day 1 went much worse than planned. So yesterday when I was filming, I got all the way up to like fish. I wanna say fish or sharks. I went from the introduction all the way to fish, and that took me a while. And then I realized, I looked at my camera and it said it wasn't recording anymore. So I was like, holy shit, when did it stop recording? Like maybe there was a storage issue. So I went back and saw that it cut off at wasps, and I was like, fuck. So the whole thing from terrestrial invertebrates to the fish, or even further than that, maybe amphibians, was just gone. So I was like, oh my God, I have to redo that whole thing. So I did that, and then I stopped my day at the end of the synapsids. So I was like, I'm done. I need to pick up in a better mood on a better day. And then I sent everything to Gion, and he went through it, and he was like, hey, the first section was completely missing. And I had actually re-recorded the second half that I thought was missing, and what was truly missing was the first half. I guess I accidentally deleted it to free up storage after I watched it. Didn't think I did, but anyway, today's a better day. So now we're picking up where it should have left off, the sauropsids. Like I mentioned earlier, the Triassic period is when the dominance shifts from synapsids to sauropsids. The synapsids in the Permian have a fossil record that indicates they were much larger and more diverse than the sauropsids, occupying more dominant roles in their ecosystem. Coming out of the Permian mass extinction and into the early Triassic, this is generally still the case. The dominant shift didn't happen overnight, and synapsids still held relatively more significant roles in their recovering ecosystems, at least that we know of. But during this time, they must have been diversifying to shit, because by the middle Triassic, they had become the dominant group in many communities and exploded in a level of diversity that a single lineage had never seen before this in such a short amount of time, taking over the land, skies, and seas, as I'll break down in a minute. But I want to start off by introducing you to a few miscellaneous species that came out of this explosion of diversity before we get to the major takeovers. Starting off with arguably the most flamboyant bad bitch of the Triassic, Longisquama, about 4 inches long and alive during the middle and late Triassic. Their most distinctive feature is obviously those blade-like structures coming off their back. What exactly they were used for is still a big mystery, but there are plenty of ideas. Some researchers believe this was an early experimentation with feather genes. They seem structurally and morphologically similar, and at one point in the 80s, some scientists threw around the idea that they could have helped them fly through the air or glide, but I don't think that idea had a lot of footing. Other researchers pointed out that these structures were too thick to be true feathers, so maybe they were just some other form of a elongated or modified scale. Others said maybe they were some sort of in-between, distinct from both feathers and scales, which I guess I kind of already covered by saying a modified or elongated scale, but I digress. Whatever they were, there was definitely some weird experimentation with scaly features of these sauropsids of the Triassic as they diversified. And this next one will prove to you that there was definitely some experimentation with overall proportionality as well. Trypanosaurus, some sort of demented rat chicken lizard from the late Triassic. Their body plan is unusual, to say the least. They're about a foot long and had a pretty massive set of claws, with one disgustingly larger from the rest. Looks like they stole it from a creature 10 times their size. They also had a thick, prehensile tail that also seems to have had its own claw at the end of it. What exactly they were is unclear. They were definitely different from dinosaur and lizard lineages.
I've spent my life tracking down rare species and rediscovering animals that were believed extinct. Not the typical mission of a wildlife biologist, but in those rare instances where we can actually find something that the whole world has given up on, it inspires hope for conservation of incredible creatures. From 65-million-year-old dinosaur fish to tiny primates with huge eyes, here's 6 animals that came back from extinction. First up, the American alligator. You might be surprised to see the alligator at the top of this list, but they have an interesting story. These creatures are true icons of swamps, marshes, and rivers in states like Florida, Louisiana, and Georgia. When I visit the glades for shows and field work, I see tons of them and I absolutely love working with them. Alligators are the biggest reptiles in North America, growing up to 15 feet long and weighing up to 1,000 pounds. What's special about American alligators isn't just their size, but their toughness. They have super strong jaws with a bite force of around 3,000 psi, which is even stronger than a jaguar's. Even though they look fierce, American alligators were in big trouble in the early 1900s. They were almost extinct. It's hard to believe because they look like prehistoric killing machines. So how did they get so close to disappearing? Well, the answer is the same as always, humans. Starting in the 1800s, people overhunted alligators for their valuable hides and destroyed their habitats for development. This, along with pollution from pesticides like DDT, caused their numbers to drop. By the 1950s, there were only about 100,000 alligators left in 10 southern states. Thankfully, people realized they needed to help. In 1962, Florida banned alligator hunting, and in 1966, they were listed as an endangered species. This was a big step in saving them. Laws were changed to protect them and stop illegal trading of alligator products. In 1972, the US banned DDT, which also helped. These efforts paid off, and by 1987, the alligator was no longer endangered. Today, there are over 5 million alligators in the southeastern US. This shows how determined conservation efforts can save a species, ensuring these incredible reptiles continue to thrive. Next up, a dinosaur fish that is believed to be extinct for 66 million years. The coelacanth are living fossils from over 400 million years ago. They can grow to over 6.5 feet long and weigh around 200 pounds. What makes them special is their lobe fin structure, which looks more like limbs than fins. They have a cool blue color and live deep in the ocean between 600 and 650 feet. For a long time, we only knew about coelacanths from fossils, thinking they went extinct ages ago. But in 1938, a massive discovery just before Christmas, a living coelacanth was caught near South Africa by Marjorie Courtney Latimer, a museum curator. This was a massive surprise. I also have a special connection to the coelacanth. My grandfather actually found one of the first ever non-rotten whole specimens while on vacation in the Comores. He saw this dinosaur-looking fish in a fish market, knew it was something special, got it frozen, and brought it back to Zimbabwe, and it's still in the Harare Natural Museum today, or so I'm told. Haven't been there in a while. In 1998, another species was found off Indonesia, expanding our knowledge of these amazing creatures. Today, coelacanths are considered critically endangered, and efforts are ongoing to protect them. However, we know very, very little about them, know very little about their population or where they hang out. It's just amazing to know that these dinosaur fish are still around. Next up, North America's bird with the longest wingspan that nearly got eradicated. The California condor is one of the largest flying birds in North America, with a wingspan of up to 9.8 feet. They play a crucial role in their ecosystem by eating dead animals, which helps keep the environment clean and free of disease. In the 1980s, there were only 22 California condor left due to habitat loss, lead poisoning, and poaching. To save them, scientists decided to capture the remaining birds and start a breeding program. It was a tough choice, but it worked. The program helped the population grow, and in 1992, the first captive bred condors were released back into the wild. Today, there are 561 California condors, with 347 in the wild and 214 in captivity. They've been released in places like Arizona, Utah, and even down in Baja, California. This success story shows just how important it is to protect endangered species and work together to save such incredible, iconic creatures like the California condor. Next up, a brown, stripy zebra that you may not even know exists. The quagga was a type of zebra that lived in South Africa. It had stripes only on the front part of its body, making it look like a mix between a zebra and a horse, also known as a zorse. Sadly, in the late 1800s, the quagga was hunted to extinction. But in the 1980s, scientists started the Quagga Project to bring them back. They used selective breeding with plain zebras that had fewer stripes. Over several generations, the offspring started to look more and more like quaggas. By 2005, they had a foal that closely resembled the extinct quagga. Although not identical, these new quaggas are visually and behaviorally similar to the old quagga, and what scientists have discovered is that they were actually just a subspecies of plain zebra, and now by breeding back in these patterns and re-releasing them, they've actually been able to breed back quagga from extinction. Next up, a howling singing dog from the highlands of New Guinea. The New Guinea singing dog is a small, unique dog from Papua New Guinea. They stand about 12 to 18 inches tall and weigh 20 to 30 pounds. What sets them apart is their singing. They have a howl that sounds like a song. These dogs are also incredibly agile, which helps them navigate their rugged mountainous homes. First discovered in 1897, they quickly became rare due to habitat loss and interbreeding with domestic dogs. By the 1970s, they were thought to be extinct in the wild. But in 2012, one was photographed in the wild, and in 2016, a small population was rediscovered in Papua New Guinea. This gave conservationists hope, and efforts are now focused on protecting their habitat. In fact, there are entire organizations in Port Moresby, the capital of Papua New Guinea, dedicated to tracking and studying the Highland singing dog, and breeders have even imported Highland singing dog to the UK and United States to breed the species and introduce it into the domestic dog trade so that those animals have insurance colonies in the pet trade. So if the ones in the Highlands ever do go extinct, at least we know there will still be some singing dogs around. But I have heard that they have terrible, very shy, difficult dispositions when it comes to being a house pet. And finally, a ghoulish-looking primate with giant eyes. The pygmy tarsier is a tiny primate from central Sulawesi in Indonesia. They weigh just 1.8 ounces and are about 4 inches long, not including their long tails. They have huge eyes for excellent night vision and are amazing climbers. For many years, pygmy tarsiers were thought to be extinct, with the last sighting in 1921. This was massively sad for such an incredible tiny little primate. But, crazily, in the year 2000, scientists accidentally killed one while trapping rats, which proved their existence. This was a huge deal when people all of a sudden found this tiny little primate in a rat trap, leading to the idea that this animal still existed. But, given it was only one and it was in a single rat trap, people were very skeptical as to the ongoing survival of the species. Then, in 2008, a small population was found alive, sparking huge interest in their conservation and ongoing efforts to focus on protecting their habitat and studying their behavior to ensure these cute little primates survive. These are 6 animals that came this close to facing extinction. There are hundreds more. If you like this video, let me know in the comments and I'll break down a couple more. Please make sure you like and subscribe so I can keep teaching you guys about these incredible creatures. Just because an animal is declared extinct doesn't mean it couldn't still be out there. I know firsthand. For years, I traveled the world searching for previously thought extinct species, and my team and I have found 8 animals the world thought were lost forever. So in this video, I'm going to give you 7 more extinct species that I believe are still out there. And maybe by sharing this information, someone, somewhere, watching this might be able to find them. Starting with our first species, which, if rediscovered, would be the largest gecko on the face of the earth. Number 1, Delcourt sticky-toed gecko. Last seen in 1870 and lost for 154 years. In 1986, in the basement of the Marseille Museum of Natural History, a primitive specimen of large gecko was found stuffed, unlabeled, and lacking any record of its collection date or its point of origin. Judging from the specimen, it must have been there for over a century. Once examination of this specimen was performed, it was found to be a species unknown to science. This specimen consisted of a single skin and a partial skeleton. But get this, the skin was stuffed and mounted on a wooden plank, and when mounted, it measured 2.5 feet long. This meant this unique specimen of gecko was 54% larger than the largest known extant species of gecko on the planet. Closer examination of this specimen showed that this gecko was similar to the brown forest geckos, Hypolodactylus species of New Zealand. This puzzling specimen was in fact the lost Kawikiwau, a giant and mysterious forest lizard of Maori oral tradition. Described by the Maoris as being about 2 feet long and as thick as a man's wrist, it is the largest of all known gecko species. Gigarcanum delcorti, the scientific name, was likely extinct or extremely rare by the time of colonization of New Caledonia in the mid-19th century, due to the absence of any other records of the species. So all of a sudden, with this museum specimen in the bag and this revelation, in April 1990, several sightings of a large gecko were reported in New Zealand newspapers, but it seemed as though these reports were the end of the excitement for the Delcourt sticky-toed gecko, until recently. Frank Fast and his partner Philippe de Fessol believe they know the exact hiding place of the extant Delcourt sticky-toed gecko, down to the exact tree. That's right, they believe that there is one specific tree in the middle of Maori country in remote New Zealand that under the bark is hiding the world's largest extinct giant gecko. According to Frank, this species is found to occur in the bark of a handful of different tree species. Two of them, Podocarpus totara and Agathis australis, excuse me, I don't know my trees that well, are trees that the animal would prefer. It's semi-arboreal and will be found under the bark of these trees deep in Maori country where no other herpetologist has ever looked. The same kind of area the last 2 specimens of gecko were discovered in New Zealand in 1981 and 1984. Really not that long ago. A gecko the size of a small dog that could be living in New Zealand. Given the history of these 2 experts' discoveries of other giant geckos like the New Caledonian, I'm going to give this one a 9 out of 10 chance of still being out there. Next up, we'll look at a missing dinosaur fish whose relatives have been mistaken for the Loch Ness Monster himself. Sturgeon are the modern-day equivalents of dinosaurs, making this mini sturgeon one of our last links to the dinosaur age. Siridara shovel-nosed sturgeon was last seen in the 1960s and has been lost for more than 60 years. The Siridaria shovel-nosed sturgeon is endemic to the Siridaria River and was once found in Kazakhstan, Tajikistan, and Uzbekistan. This prehistoric-looking fish is among the smallest species in the world, growing only to about 1 foot long compared to its gigantic 20-foot-long cousins that we get right here in North America. It was once found in the Aral Sea, but according to NASA, the Aral Sea shrunk by more than 60% between 1973 and the early 2000s. Like many sturgeon, this species of fish is fully migratory between fresh and salt water. However, the population was cut off from the Aral Sea, where it presumably fed. Back when the Soviet Union was at its highest power, they performed huge water extraction for crop irrigation from the Siridaria River and the Aral Sea, leading to the Aral Sea drying up to about 1/5 of its former size. So this meant that major habitat loss, damming, and habitat fragmentation are incredibly common in the range, and when you couple that with polluted waterways, these are likely all contributing factors to the demise of this beautiful little sturgeon. So why do I believe it could still be out there? It's likely incredibly rare, but researchers and experts on the subject are hopeful the species remains just in low numbers. Back in 2016 and twice in 2018, local fishermen reported to researchers that they caught a Siridaria shovel-nosed sturgeon. These fish require a moving river for their life history, and I believe the ecosystem remains intact enough to be able to support a small but viable population of these sturgeon if the right kind of surveying and trapping were to take place. And in order to do that trapping, you would have to be able to identify good pieces of habitat that weren't fragmented, that supported the fish's natural history. Then you could go into that region and put out large seine nets to seine for fish. You could put out little box traps, and you could lean into the natural history of the fish's life cycle, like we've done with sturgeon populations around the world, to try and pinpoint a location of this fish. I believe that just like the white sturgeon that's been trapped by dozens of dams along the Columbia River that are stuck in places like the Dalles, Oregon, this sturgeon is likely to still be there. So I'm going to give this a 7 out of 10 chance of still being extant. Next up, a beautiful red primate with a coat unlike anything else in the world. Miss Waldron's colobus monkey, last seen in 1978 in the Ivory Coast and lost for over 45 years, this animal still sits on the critically endangered list. Miss Waldron's red colobus is dangerously close to becoming the first primate to be declared extinct in more than 500 years after repeated failed searches. But if this creature is still out there, we simply cannot let this happen. This species of colobus monkey has a unique red coat and a native range stretching through most of southwest Ghana. Hunting and habitat loss drove their population down to be reduced by up to 80% in the 1970s. And since 1978, not a single individual has been observed in the wild. Sadly, this monkey was frequently and illegally poached for bushmeat with little interference by local governments. Poaching is still a prevalent problem today, and those possible remaining individuals face a struggle from staying hidden from humans, which really sucks because human beings, especially starving ones looking for bushmeat, are really good at finding animals and killing them. But it's not just hunting that's a problem. Habitat destruction has also played a major role in its decline. The Miss Waldron's red colobus is the first primate to be suspected extinct in the 21st century, but there is considerable debate over whether this assessment is indeed correct. And that's why I think it is so important to, at the very least, give an attempt to figure out whether or not this animal is still out there. And there's even a little bit of hope. Although there have not been any confirmed sightings in over 25 years, in 2008, calls of the Miss Waldron's colobus monkey were heard by a team of scientists from the Swiss Center for Scientific Research in the Ehe Forest. Along with hearing the calls, a fresh skin from a red colobus was rediscovered from a poacher, along with a tail in 2019. These are very clear indications that at least up until 2019, there were living individuals hanging out in the Ivory Coast. A single skin found in the possession of a hunter near the Ehe Lagoon in southeastern Ivory Coast in early 2002 raised even more hopes that at least one population of Miss Waldron's red colobus still hangs on. But subsequent field work in this region, including several forest reserves and nearby Île Étoile National Park, has yielded no evidence of living individuals. The problem with surveying for primates is their extreme intelligence and arboreal nature, making it so difficult to tell whether or not those animals could still be there. My method for finding them would be to use acoustic audio traps set high in the trees and AI deciphering codes, which can then take those audio recordings, run them through a program, and give you 100% whether or not they're actually picking up Miss Waldron's. Following confirmations of the sounds and knowing the general areas, baits and camera traps would then need to be set out in the treetops to see whether or not these monkeys could be moving through, and if rediscovered, putting in severe anti-poaching protocols, which of course all takes massive amounts of resources that likely the Ivory Coast doesn't have. So it's not the best situation, and given that even the most recent confirmations were over 20 years ago, and the population and bushmeat hunting in Western Africa has only gotten worse, on a scale of 1 to 10, I'm sadly going to give this about a 6 out of 10 of being rediscovered. Whew, man, it's tough.
I like the LTT screwdriver.
I didn't intend to like it, but after buying like 12 other ratcheting screwdrivers, I find myself using Linus's the most. I still have tons of other screwdrivers, the right tool for the right job and all that, but one thing that it's laughably bad at is any kind of precision work. Which is why Linus is trying to strike gold twice with this, the LTT Precision Screwdriver.
You guys have some explaining to do about this whole situation. They commissioned the creation of a 4x scale precision multi-bit screwdriver that is so big, it holds precision multi-bit screwdrivers in the storage cap.
What's its claim to fame? Well, it's like the iFixit Precision Bit Driver, except Linus's has a fidget spinner on top. And it's called a screwdriver instead of a bit driver. I jest, but there was a little drama that went down between iFixit's CEO and LMG. And while that's not the focus of this video, I did get a statement from iFixit's CEO, which I'll get to. But first, I'll let Linus sum up his side of the argument.
Either it's a copy at a higher price, in which case he shouldn't be worried about it.
Right.
Or it's a product that innovated.
After you watch this video, I'll let you be the judge. I'm just here to test out a new screwdriver and share my thoughts. Now, anyone who works with phones, tiny electronics, or anything with tiny screws already has a few precision screwdrivers. Even here, I'm mostly settled on a few of these Klein drivers. I have a few of them scattered around in each of my workspaces, and I love having all the main bits that I need self-contained inside this shaft. These Kleins have a nice rubber grip, a long thin shaft for getting in tight spaces, and a spinny part on top that lets you quickly screw things in. Does having a fidget spinner help screw things in better? Well, here's the deal. LMG sent me one of their precision screwdriver kits. It has 60 bits, and it comes with this nice black plastic case with a magnetic closure. I decided to do an almost one-for-one comparison. I bought the iFixit Moray, which has 32 bits and also comes in a nice black plastic case with a magnetic closure. Looking at these two side by side, maybe iFixit's CEO was onto something when he said Linus is good at copying their products. Now, the LTT case does add on a few features. It has a detachable hinge, and the whole thing is magnetic and stackable. And the LTT set has 60 bits, but iFixit also sells the Mako, a 64-bit kit for 40 bucks. LTT's full kit is 50 bucks and doesn't come with the handy flex extension you get with the Mako. Both precision drivers have hidden storage at the top, though Linus's is a little nicer and remains attached like on the bigger driver. When it comes down to it though, the major difference between these two driver kits is the fidget spinner. Is that worth 10 bucks to you? Or put another way, would the iFixit driver get $10 better with a $5 fidget spinner stuck on top? I bought these two fidget spinners in a pack, 10 bucks for two. Can I replicate the experience of the LTT driver by just VHB taping on one of these guys? Just a little square should do, I think. There we go. And I'll pop this back on and let's check. Seems to be working pretty well. And now I have my own fidget spinner for $5 less. Here's LTT's fidget spinner. The advantage with the iFixit method is, well, that's one advantage. You can pop it right back off and the VHB tape doesn't hold it on. But assuming it holds on, I could take this whole little kit with me and I don't have to take the screwdriver. So it does look a little silly, but the advantage here is I can pop this off and take it with me, and now I have a pocket-sized fidget spinner, and I don't have to take the screwdriver with me everywhere I go. But it does the trick, and it's nice to have a fidget spinner that holds your bits. Can't do that with this one. I don't think so. Yeah, see? But that's pretty silly. Now that both drivers are on an even playing field, I thought I'd do a scientific test. Which fidget spins better? For the first test, I'll just measure how long it spins. And for that, I'll use my handy scientific timer. I'm going to start this one when the timer hits 5 seconds, and this one when it hits 10 seconds, so we can deduct 5 off this and 10 off that one. That way we have a fair comparison here. Okay. All right, here we go. Time, 27 seconds. Time, 36 seconds. So, the fidget spinner is a fidget spinner. I think that's the conclusion that I have here. It also depends a lot on your technique with your fidget spinning and whether you get a good thumb start with a lot of friction, or I guess even the way that you hold it could make a little bit of an impact. But these are all just silly tests to prove the point that
it's just a fidget spinner. But for the second test, I was gonna see if I can get my tachometer to show how fast these fidget spinners go, but then I realized I don't know where I put the thing, so I won't be doing that test today. Plot twist, as I was editing this video, I actually found the tachometer. It was hanging up next to my sound pressure meter. So here it is, and it looks like it gets over 2,000 RPM. Is that good? I don't know. Is that bad? Not sure. But the next test I wanted to do is seeing if the gyroscopic effect makes any difference when I'm screwing. That statement sounds a little weird. Anyway, I'll take this Raspberry Pi and unscrew a couple screws while the spinner's going. Okay. It doesn't seem that it makes any impact on screwing abilities. Because of the mass of the screwdriver, it barely even makes an impact on how the screwdriver feels. I think if you had a more massive fidget spinner, that would make a bigger difference. But the key would be, it might hold it a little more stable, but that's about it. I don't think that the fidget spinner is making a material difference on my ability to screw things in or unscrew things. This, the iFixit screwdriver seems a little bit lighter. Let me check. I'm going to check the weights. And this is with 3 bits included. I'll make this a fair fight. This is not the world's best scale. Here's the LTT driver. That looks like it's about 20 or 30 grams. And iFixit, including the spinner, is maybe 15 to 20 grams. So this is a lighter screwdriver. The gyroscopic effect would be greater on the iFixit. I still don't feel much. So I don't think that the spinner is going to help you much in terms of screwing things in. Next up, Linus made a point that his driver is compatible with iFixit bits. And if that's true, then his bits should work in the iFixit too. And as a third benchmark, I'm also going to test out some bits from this cheap no-name kit I inherited from my Uncle Mark. So first, here's one of the LTT bits. It fits, of course, because it comes with a screwdriver. It'd be pretty terrible if that didn't fit. But let's try one of the iFixit bits, and that fits just as well. The LTT bits have a slightly different finish. The iFixit ones are more chrome, whereas the LTT ones are kind of polished. But otherwise, they look very similar. The iFixit bits also have labels with text on them, so SL4 instead of just a 4 on here. And then let's try one of LTT's bits in the iFixit driver. That fits, although with the LTT bits, the shank of it goes down inside of the shaft there. No, the shanks of these are a little bit bigger. And again, it says Torx T6H on here. This one just says TR6. So the actual part that fits into the driver is a little bit smaller on the LTT bits. Again, not a big difference, but it is a difference. And finally, let me try one of these bits from this cheap no-name set. It literally has no name on it. I don't know who makes this thing. Probably from Harbor Freight, but they fit just as well. No problems there. I would prefer to have this part longer, but on the flip side, that could fit in tighter spaces sometimes. It's a difference. It's not a big difference. But yeah, bit compatibility, it works. Now, at first glance, I did think the LTT driver was pretty much a copy of iFixit's, but when I lined it up with all my other precision drivers, I kind of agree with Linus that it's not. That doesn't mean it's better or anything, just looking at all these, they have some things in common, like the spinny bit on top, the rubber grip, well, Linus's doesn't have that, it's metal, and they're all a similar length, and they have a bit holder in the end. The biggest difference is really in the way the bits work and what bits are included. So like I mentioned earlier, Linus's bits have a shorter shank down here that fits inside. And the bit holder is nice and integrated. You can hold 3 bits in it. It rotates, which I like. And it stays with the screwdriver, which means it's going to be hard to lose it or drop it. The metal grip is fine. It's, rubber is nice. I think that this metal grip is just as grippy, at least as iFixit's rubber one, because it's the grain on it is not all that defined, whereas the LTT one has some good knurling in it. The Klein one has a nice grip. It's actually located up a little higher. There are differences, and really it depends on your hands how well you like each of these different approaches. And that's why I think a lot of us have a ton of different drivers. Sometimes it's nice to have a rubber grip up high that you can really mash on with one hand. Other times it's nice to have it down low for you to kind of screw in and out something very delicately. This one also from Klein has a shank that is longer in one orientation, which is helpful sometimes because you can get into a tighter space, or you get the built-in extension basically. But if I want this bit on the other side, then you got to pull it out, pull the bit out, pull the other bit out, switch the bits, and then stick the thing back in. And now I have this bit hanging out over here, which I could stick back in here, but that's just one more step. Whereas all these other drivers, if I want to do the same thing, I just pull out the bit and grab a different bit. I included this large driver as well because it has almost all the bits I need for typical projects built into this one shaft. It has 4, 5, 6. It has 6 bits per side, so that's 12, and then 2 more, so that's 14 with nut drivers. So this is handy to have around in terms of I just need everything and I can put it all in one little thing in my pocket, but it does not have the same assortment that you get if you buy a kit with all these different bits. I think that the way that they're held in with the kind of the foam on both of these is a lot nicer than the trays that come with this cheap no-name one. The trays do pop out separately, but I've never actually done that. I just grab the bit out of here. But the foam holds them in nicely. My only concern would be over a long period of time, like let's say 10 years, some of these are already not tight in there. So over 10 or so years of use, this foam might not hold that well, but you could always just stick some rubber in there or something to hold them a little better. All in all, I've used all of these drivers, and I haven't really had major issues with any of them. I think the main issue with this one is it's so big that it doesn't fit in a lot of projects. It's just kind of awkward to use. It's handy to have all the bits in the shaft, but it's also a little bit awkward. This one, the biggest annoyance I have with it is sometimes I do want that extra reach, but I need this bit, so you have to do that little dance, switching them around. But all three of these have been very similar. I don't really like the, I can demonstrate why I don't like it. I don't like this, the way that this works where you have to tighten it down, so you put in the bit and then you tighten it. It's not great in terms of if you're pushing and you didn't tighten it all the way, the bit can just slide up into the shaft. It's also just annoying. It takes more time. So I do like having the magnet where you just drop it in like that on these two. But it's different strokes for different folks. That's why there are lots of different screwdrivers in the world. And I'm also noticing there must be a magnet inside of here or something, because as I'm moving this around, it actually kind of slides back into place there. You can see that. Interesting. But one last note before I move on is the actual bit selection. So I noticed that Linus Tech Tips has triangle bits, they have tri-wing bits, Torx security screws, Torx bits, there's square bits, there's pentalobes, there's security like the forked slotted tool, all these different bits. And iFixit really kind of pioneered the particular bit set. And I think that is one area where, iFixit probably looked at all of their information and said, here's the bits that we should put into these sets, the most useful ones. And LTT didn't have to do as much work for that because they kind of just took all the bits that were in here and put them in here. On the flip side, this no-name one is many years older, and it has a lot of the same bits, but it doesn't have things like the triangle bits. It doesn't have some of the security bits and things. So, that is something that is a substantial difference in these two kits that I think that the LTT designers probably had a leg up because they could look at what was in here already. A few weeks ago, I took this old 2013 MacBook Air and installed modern Linux on it. When I did that, I noticed the fans were almost always maxed out. The fan is nearing takeoff levels, but I'm still seeing blinking, and this little spinner stopped spinning. Apparently, that's not how it's supposed to be. A few comments mentioned I should repaste the CPU to see if that keeps it cooler without the fans having to ramp up. And just a couple weeks ago when I tore down the brand new Qualcomm Snapdragon X dev kit, just days before Qualcomm killed the whole project, I used the iFixit kit. The iFixit worked great, so I think it's only fair to see how the LTT kit does repasting this MacBook Air. It's especially appropriate because I know how much Linus loves Apple. And this is a bit ironic because I'll be using one of iFixit's own teardown guides. So it says there's P5 pentalobe. Let's make sure that we got that. Yep, right here, P5 pentalobe. And I'll get to work on getting this back cover off. And I am not taking advantage of the LTT screwdriver's magnetic parts tray for this. I like to live dangerously and let my screws just hang out. If I remember correctly, yeah, it says right there, just wedge your fingers in and pop up. And there we go. It's actually not too dirty in there. I will give it a little spritz with the spray air. And I'll probably make a screw go flying too. There is a little bit of dust in here. Oh, you know what? I might have upgraded this. There's an OWC drive in here instead of the Apple one. I think I upgraded this to 512 or 256 gig. Wouldn't it be nice if you could upgrade your storage on a Mac? Maybe Apple should look into that someday. This has discrete graphics. It looks like there's a CPU and graphics on here. I guess I'll do the TR8 because I don't see a T8. Security screw. Yep, that's right. Good job, iFixit guides. So you got a T5 for the heatsink, another T5 here. Take off all of these little T5s. Yeah, this is coming out nice and easy. That thermal paste is crusty. Definitely not liquid anymore. Definitely needs a repaste. I don't know if you can see that, but that came off a little too easy. Usually thermal paste doesn't come off that simply. Yeah, there's the NVIDIA GPU. It's funny, the GPU on here is actually larger than the CPU. And then I'll do a little bit of isopropyl alcohol. Cleanliness is next to godliness, they say. Okay, I'll do the same, I'll do the same thing on the heat spreaders. Make everything nice and clean. There's a little bit for you. Oh, you know what? I am out on this syringe. I need to go grab a different one. Okay. I think getting this rubber thing back on is going to be the hardest part of this whole operation. For a screw like this that's going deep into a recessed area, it is nice to have that magnetic tip, which some precision drivers don't have. I'm going to make the executive decision to cut this because it's just annoying and that's silly. Yeah, we'll just act like that never happened. This is how we do repairs in the Midwest. If it doesn't fit, you cut it until it fits. Uh-oh, I just found a screw that I did not screw in. Let's come back out. There's always a screw missing. Oh, the fan screw right here. Oh, and the battery. It would be good to plug the battery back in, probably. It would be so much easier if these were all just Torx Apple. That all worked fine and none of the bits broke or anything. So let's see if this powers on now. And we'll see if the fans kick in. It's booting. Someone told me I should put Xubuntu, or there's another version of this that's meant for older computers. So I might do that at some point. The fan hasn't started spinning yet. Let's check, can we get temperatures? Exhaust 2000 RPM, it's very quiet. So I'm gonna try running stress on here and we'll see if it can get those fans going. There we go. Yep, fan is starting to spin up. CPU's up to 90. That's not too bad. I think that this is success.
Well, that's just
it's not due to this, it's more due to this, but this was not a hindrance at all. So that's it for testing these things out. When I was working on this video, I contacted iFixit CEO Kyle Wiens and asked for more thoughts on the LTT situation. He said he hasn't seen their screwdriver in person, so he can't comment on the quality. I'll show his whole statement on the screen, but it boils down to iFixit basing all their kits on real-world testing of 100,000 repair guides like the one I just used. I asked him about sponsorships too, because they paused sponsorships on LTT, but I've seen sponsorships since then on channels like Jay's 2 Cents.
So what are you waiting for? Click the link in the description below for discounts and savings and explosions. More explosions.
Kyle said basically they're focusing on their new soldering kit now, and they're pausing a number of sponsorships. So I think anyone trying to drum up drama out of this is probably misguided. Do I think LTT releasing the precision screwdriver affected their relationship with iFixit? Sure, probably. But do I think there's bad blood between them now? Probably not. You can put down your pitchforks. But for this video, I'm more interested in finding out if Linus's driver is worth the money and if you should consider it versus the iFixit or another driver. I kinda copped out on the LTT screwdriver review and said it was a good screwdriver but would be better at 50 bucks. I'm gonna go out and say the precision screwdriver isn't worth the extra money over something like the iFixit. Consider this, I can go on Amazon right now and buy the Mako kit for 42 bucks and 24 cents, including shipping, and have it here tomorrow morning. If I want the LTT kit, well, first of all, it's out of stock. but if it were in stock, I'd be looking at $58.04, and that's with 3 to 9 day shipping. Now, both of these kits are marked down currently, but that's almost a $20 difference in total cost, and I have to wait a week longer to get the LTT. And if you're not in the US or Canada, the price might be even higher and the wait even longer. So no, unless you really like fidget spinners on your screwdrivers, or think a few tiny improvements like the hinge are worth it, or if you just want to show your support for LTT, I don't think this screwdriver is worth it. The regular LTT screwdriver had some nice changes, like the ratchet system and the flip-up bit storage. The only main difference with this precision screwdriver is the fidget spinner on top. And if you want one of those, just buy one of these things and stick it in your pocket. Until next time, I'm Jeff Geerling.
This is it. It's finally here, the LTT screwdriver. And the truth is, we didn't have to make it. There are loads of perfectly good screwdrivers. But this one is the best. Everything from the convenient bit storage to the perfectly tuned sound and feel of the ratchet mechanism to the fact that it is, naturally, perfectly balanced, as all things should be, is second to none. And the handle is designed to be super comfortable whether your hands resemble catcher's mitts or you buy your gloves from the children's section. But getting it to this point was an adventure, and even with my experience in product management, a shockingly expensive adventure. I mean, how can it take 3 years and hundreds of thousands of dollars to make something so seemingly basic? I'm going to tell you, but first, I gotta start paying for this thing with this segue to our sponsor. Of course it's got a sponsor spot. Why wouldn't it have a sponsor spot? Simple MDM. Simple MDM offers ridiculously simple Apple device management for IT. Enrolling your company's Apple devices and keeping them up to date doesn't have to be frustrating. Get 50% off your first 3 months at simplemdm.com/Linus. Rather than reinventing the wheel, the smart engineer finds the best existing wheel and then refines it. So right out of the gate, MegaPro was an obvious partner. First of all, their ratchet mechanism is fantastic and has been proven reliable in the field for over 25 years. Second, they own the patent on what I believe is literally the best bit loader available for a ratcheting screwdriver. Third, and this wasn't a requirement, but it was a huge bonus, their office is a 20-minute drive from ours, making collaboration much easier. Now, the especially smart thing to do, what MegaPro implored us to do, would have been to simply rebrand one of their existing drivers. A little bit of LTT logo there, some LTT color here, maybe some computer-specific bits, and we would have been good to go. Unfortunately, I'm a perfectionist control freak who hates making money. So instead, we embarked on our 3-year journey that would have us redesign nearly every single aspect of MegaPro's existing product. Does this look anything alike to you? I mean, they're both screwdrivers. Other than that, the answer is no. For one thing, MegaPro's ratchet works in the opposite direction that you are screwing in. And not being able to alter this would have been a complete showstopper for me. Upon hearing that it should be pretty simple to go ratchet right, screw in right, we greenlit the project. More on that later though. Next, we had to redesign the handle. To be clear, theirs is great for automotive applications where you really want to give her up near the top of the driver, but it didn't provide the finer control that I expect in a more general use driver. Also, it's a little more than I can handle if you catch my drift.
At this point, I was recruited to design a handle that feels both when you have your hand up at the top or when you have it choked up, kind of like this. I settled on a 3-lobe design for the way it just kind of naturally follows the shape of your hand, and from there, I got to do my favorite thing, rapid prototyping. My philosophy is that there's no point in trying to make something perfect the first time because you're just gonna get it wrong anyway. So for my first attempt, I basically just made up dimensions in SolidWorks and threw it at the printer. This is truly terrible, but that was kind of the point. One of the main reasons it's terrible is it's literally impossible to mass manufacture. We already knew at this stage that the final parts were going to be injection molded, basically shooting a bunch of hot plastic into a metal cavity. So there are a couple of important considerations. First, no areas can be too thin. At below about 80 thousandths of an inch, our molten plastic won't flow through the mold, and even if it did, our finished part might be easy to break. Also, no areas can be too thick, since the plastic can sag while cooling and look pretty strange. More importantly though, the two halves of the mold have to be able to come apart. So in this first version of the handle, these scalloped areas here would have resulted in the mold completely destroying our part seconds after it had been made. Not ideal. Anyway, 5 versions later, I landed on the first handle that I liked, aka the Long Boy. Unfortunately, this was one of our first major roadblocks. Linus said it was too big, and I had already made this handle as small as I possibly could without changing the Mega Pro internals. To make it smaller, we'd have to get pretty creative and spend a bunch of money. One option was to decrease the length of the zinc housing that connects the shaft to the handle, but we were afraid that would decrease how much torque you can transmit through the handle. Another option was to decrease the number of bits to 6, but we felt 12 was a necessity for tech work. What we were willing to give up though was the length of the bits. By reducing them from 25mm to 20 and making a couple alterations to the zinc housing, we were able to make our handle nearly an inch shorter than Mega Pro's and create a handle that is awesome to use no matter your hand size. 2 versions later, we arrived at version 7, which is a handle design you can buy now. I did create versions 8 through 20, but all of them are worse than number 7. So 7 it is.
There was a small problem with our handle design though. How do you access the bit loader? Mega Pro has 2 little indents on the sides of the handle, but with our trilobular design, that looks and feels pretty gross. To make the whole driver feel more cohesive then, we hired Whitebox Designs in Vancouver to help us out. They came up with a bunch of different ideas, some resembling things like our water bottle and some a bit more abstract. Around this time, it was becoming pretty clear that Alex needed some help since balancing doing an engineer's full-time job with writing an LTT video a week was becoming unsustainable. So we went engineer fishing and hooked ourselves a Kyle. His first task was to perfect our end cap. We liked Whitebox's little ribbed ends, but getting it correct was difficult since too large of a rib can make using the screwdriver uncomfortable in your palm, but having them too small makes getting at the bits difficult. After 3D printing a bunch that could be interchanged quickly using magnets, we found that this one was the best. All of this work led to the 3D printed prototype in my hand. Looks strikingly similar to the finished product, doesn't it? So given that this was high fives all around done in August of 2020 with a launch scheduled for 5 months later, how on earth did it take another 2 years? Internally, we call this Kickstarter syndrome. Up until that point, every obstacle had been overcome relatively quickly, and we even had our manufacturing partner locked in. We felt basically invincible, and we were tempted to launch a pre-order campaign. But if we had done that, we would have a heck of a lot of angry customers right now because we either would have shipped a bad product or they would have waited 2 years after submitting payment. As it turns out, going from pretty much ready to mass production ready is a lot of work. To be clear, some of it was still pretty straightforward. We worked with innovative tool and die in Delta to create our plastic molds, and the process for that was, well, I wouldn't say painless, because we did have to hand them over $200,000 US, but that was basically it. We gave them the money, they gave us the molds. And I gotta say, until now, I didn't know much about plastic mold making other than that it's super expensive. But after seeing how it's done, the price tag makes a bit more sense to me. We went with hardened steel molds instead of aluminum ones because they last way longer, and our intention is that we are going to make hundreds of thousands, maybe even millions of screwdrivers before those molds finally kick the can. The problem with hardened steel molds, though, is that they're made of hardened steel. They are extremely difficult to machine. To accomplish this then, Innovative Tool and Die used EDM. No, not that kind. Electrical discharge machining. We're not going to have time to fully explain EDM here. This fantastic video by Applied Science should handle that for us nicely. But the TLDR is that they're using a carbon electrode in the shape of our screwdriver and then a bunch of electricity to slowly zap away the steel. This process has to be incredibly precise because ultimately it will determine not only the shape, but even the texture of the surface of the finished product. We chose a satin finish for our handle that looks great out of the box and wears out very evenly, which is technically called CH30 NRRAUM 320 if you're a mold turbo nerd. While the plastic molds were getting made, we also had to finalize the shaft. You might have noticed that our original designs had the knurling go all the way up to the base of the shaft, but we added this little ridge here, and the reason for that was so that we'd have as much material as possible to hold the shaft onto the ratchet. We tried a lot of different materials for shafts. These ones are aluminum, which were just too soft and felt kind of cheap. These ones are stainless steel. These ones are high carbon steel. And then we also tried like different knurlings. This one's straight, which was kind of awful for slipping between your fingers. And what we ultimately settled on was 303 stainless steel for a good mix of durability and machinability. I just want to mention here that we made sure to go fairly aggressive with the knurling, and most PC screws can be almost entirely tightened using the shaft. So you would use it kind of like this. One unfortunate thing that we learned during the testing of our prototype screwdrivers, though, was that the black coating on the shaft was simply not durable enough. It wasn't for lack of trying. The 40 micrometer black chrome plating treatment was the closest we got, but even that got stripped pretty quickly, especially by sharp things like heatsink fins. So sadly, aside from some early orders where we are allowing people to buy the black one knowing that it's going to wear off, we're going to be primarily selling the screwdriver with a silver shaft so that it doesn't look terrible in a year. As a consolation though, the silver shaft is passivated by dipping it in a nitric bath to give it a nice protective oxide coating because, despite its name, stainless steel isn't actually totally stainless. So this design choice was not about saving a buck, it was about making the most durable possible product. Also in the shaft is the strongest magnet that we could get our hands on. The minimum pull force that this is rated for is 5 newtons. But from our testing, they've been anywhere between 7 to 11 newtons. And this was to address one of my personal pet peeves, where your bit gets kind of stuck on the screw and then gets left behind when you pull out. And I can confidently say that that will be an extremely rare occurrence with our driver. I've had it happen a grand total of about 5 times in the last couple of years. While we're on the topic of materials, let's give you a rundown on what the entire screwdriver is made out of. The main plastics, so the handle, the end cap, and the selector ring, are all made out of a material called Triax 1120. It's a nylon-rich ABS blend that we don't know the exact composition of, it's a trade secret, but what we do know is that it's as strong as frickin' heck and offers a great balance of chemical and abrasion resistance. The internal plastics are also mostly Triax 1120, but the bit clips and the little ninja star that's in between them, as we like to call it, are made out of Delrin for its excellent wear characteristics. The last thing you want is for these little holders to just start snapping off on you. That would be terrible. Now, if you look really closely, you can actually see a small color mismatch between the Triax and the Delrin, but we did our best with it, and I'm pretty sure that if I didn't just point it out, no one would have ever noticed. But I did point it out, because I would hate for you guys to think that it's literally perfect. Speaking of flaws, I'm going to point out another one. In the molds, first of all, we're incredibly impressed with the quality of the molds from Innovative Tool and Die. Every injection molded part is going to have parting lines where the 2 dies of the mold meet, and they are virtually undetectable on our handle. Like, props, guys. Kyle's been working as a production engineer for 10 years, and he's never seen molds this good before. But while on most of the molds, we were able to hide the gate, which is where the plastic gets injected and there's a little sprue that needs to be broken off. Like on the handle, it's right here where it's going to be hidden by the selector ring. There was one we couldn't hide, and that was on the selector ring itself. On the first batch we got, it was super obvious. Like, look at this thing. So we worked with the mold makers to change the gate location and make it as small as possible, leaving us with this little tiny blemish. Again, this is a very small flaw, but I am pointing it out to demonstrate how obsessive we were over the tiny details of this product. They really do matter. And some of them matter a lot, like the revisions that we made to the Ninja Star. Originally, between the 2 rows of bits, there was supposed to be a round plastic washer, and this was to help hold the bits in place so that they couldn't accidentally slide into another position. Unfortunately, it limited compatibility to the 20mm long bits that we sell, or to less common 16mm bits from other vendors, like this one. By this point, we were completely committed to our shorty bits though. Not only do they enable the excellent ergonomics of our handle, but it turns out that the shorter length enhances our already incredibly strong magnets, so you don't have to worry about dropping even very large ferrous screws. But then, we also didn't want to lock people into a single vendor for replacement bits, even if it's us. That sucks. I mean, our bits are great. They're black oxide coated S2 tool steel, and we're going to have a wide variety of different sets available right at launch. And furthermore, we rationalized, if you really wanted to buy your own bits, you could just angle grind 5mm off a standard one. But what we really wanted was to find some way that we could ensure that longer bits could still be accommodated. And so, the Ninja Star was born. You just take a pick, turn it so that it lines up with in between the bit holders, and yeah, it'll knock down the number of bits that you can carry down to 6, but this ensures that you will always be able to find something to store in your screwdriver handle, even if you lose all of these and I die and we go out of business. Anyway, we had all of this figured out and all of the plastic molds done by the summer of 2021, hoping for a December launch. That's when things got really stupid. The zinc ratchet molds were going to be made in Taiwan by the same factory that MegaPro has been using for 20 years. And then suddenly, they started becoming less responsive. By this point, we had individually approved every component of the ratchet mechanism from the factory, and all we needed was a final assembled sample before hitting go on production. Then, this mess arrived.
It's okay, Linus, I got it from here. This is hot garbage. Imagine waiting for your final pre-production samples and then receiving a bucket of disappointment. To summarize, the shaft flops around like a wet noodle. The ratchet sounds like 3 years short of a bad gearbox. And the knurling is basically smooth. It's like we told them what to do, and they just didn't do it. And then sent us this. And it was me.
Everything about this sample was terrible. You can even just tell by the knurling on the shaft. Like this, how could these both even be from the same factory? Well, we can't get too much into that because there are some legal things that we're still figuring out, but basically, the factory that we were using was bought out by a large tool maker, and they were now prioritizing, naturally, their own tools. So long story short, we got fed up with their terrible communication and delays, not to mention their terrible quality, and we changed to a different factory in China, potentially losing our $130,000 US deposit in the process. Once we started getting in samples from the Chinese factory, we had more problems. The ratchet, which previously had been the one thing that hadn't gone wrong, started to jam. To show you why, we're going to have to take a closer look at how our ratchet mechanism works. Press fit into the rear of the shaft is the ratchet wheel. There are then two pawls that engage with it. So you can see them right here. If both of them are engaged, the shaft is locked. But if you move one of them up a little bit, you can spin the shaft in one direction. To move the pawls out of the way, there are two pieces of Delrin that interact with the selector ring. And it turns out that this guy right here was made 5/1000th of an inch out of spec. 5/1000th of an inch! That's like the width of 2 hairs. But because it's a lever, that error was multiplied across the mechanisms, leading to our jamming issues. The bad news is that it took us over 6 months of barking up various trees to figure out that this was the problem. The good news is that in that time, we tweaked nearly every part of the mechanism to tighten up tolerances, increase reliability, and to dramatically improve the feel of the ratchet over MegaPro's already A-tier design. It not only sounds amazing, but we went out and bought all of the screwdrivers that the haters have been telling us are certainly better than their novice first attempt. And by comparison, ours has extremely low back force, making it really easy to get a screw started, and an excellent hand feel. It also happens to be strong enough for heavy automotive work with a minimum spec of 25 Newton meters for torque, although we've actually tested them up to 30 Newton meters and they still work perfectly fine. Should be noted, if you get to that point though, whatever screw that you're reefing on is probably a hollowed out circle. While we were fixing the ratchet mechanism, another thing we played around with was the tolerance of this Delrin ring that holds the shaft in place. We settled on a 5 thou gap between the sleeve and the shaft, finding that it was the best compromise between a solid shaft feel while still allowing good ratchet movement. There's a prototype here that has a tighter collar. Yes, here we go. Oh, the feel of this is not good, but that's in the past. Today is now. Now is today. You know what? Whatever, it doesn't matter. Let's go build a final one. And what better place to do it than here at PH Molds in Maple Ridge, British Columbia, where our finished driver handles are currently being produced in the machine right behind us. Let's take a closer look.
Yeah.
Whoa, this bad boy is heavy.
Yep.
It all starts here in this nondescript paper barrel full of our plastic material called Triax, mixed up with these black pieces that are a dye, a pigment, that are gonna help us achieve the black color that we want for our screwdriver handle. You're gonna vacuum these up into this industrial dryer apparatus right here, and once they've got all the moisture sucked out of them, they get crapped out into this bucket that we then take. I'm gonna actually leave the bucket there. I don't know if it's just gonna dump a load into it, but it comes out of that bucket, which then gets dumped into this hopper. The plastic pellets are gravity fed into the molding machine, at which point things get a little spicier. You can actually see the piston right here that is driving molten plastic into the mold. But how does it get molten?
The pellets go into what we call the auger, which is a hollowed out cylindrical tube that has an Archimedes screw in the middle that's actually tapered outward as you go along that way. What that does is it not only melts the plastic into a molten state needed to actually inject it into the mold.
So there's a heating element.
There's a heating element for sure that brings it up to plus 250 something Celsius, and it's tapered. That helps both with mixing and creating enough pressure for the piston to actually come and grab it.
As wild as this feels right now, I have never actually seen in person the mold that we
paid for.
Made.
That you paid for?
Yeah, I did have to do that.
That hunk of metal right there is the whole mold assembly.
Oh wow, okay.
It's the whole assembly that you actually pay for, which is why mold cost can be actually really expensive. Unless you have like a master die, which is the outer bits, and you just pay for the plates, which is the cavity and the core, you actually have to pay for the entire assembly. So they load the entire assembly with a massive 10-ton overhead crane. So they load it in, and then they connect up all the hoses, and basically all it does is shoots, opens, ejects, closes, shoots, open, ejects, and it's on automatic right now.
Okay, so we can see it go.
You can literally like watch this thing.
Whoa!
There's a part
Hey,
right
there's
there.
a part. Oh, it's hot.
Yeah, it's hot. Get gloves. Also, somebody's screwdrivers might have Linus's fingerprints in it.
There goes another one.
What's actually cool about this mold, it has a core that goes inside here, a cavity that goes over there, and then 2 slides that go around the sides to form the whole part. So what a mold is it's basically a negative of what you're trying to create.
Right.
So inside, when the mold closes, there's exactly this space here, right? To actually shoot.
Exactly.
Exactly, right? So this is called a sprue, and that's called a runner. So these are unfortunately, well, they're not lost, because what we do is we cut these off and we regrind them to add to that pellet stuff that we just got earlier on.
But you can only have so much percentage of regrind. You have to have some virgin material going in. So what are we going to get away with?
So
like 10, 20%?
It depends on the part, but for most of the outer components, it's 25%.
Got it.
So what we want to aim for is that the sprue and the runners are under 25% of the total shot.
So that way we have basically no waste.
Exactly. We don't always get it, but we try, right? This mold is unfortunately not something that we call auto ejection. So it does eject, but it doesn't automatically cut the gate. That has to be manually trimmed. Most of our other molds cut the gate away as they eject, which is a very satisfying process if you actually get to see it. Unfortunately, we don't have that mold loaded right now, so you're gonna have to take my word for it. But this is not so bad. It's a single cut. It's that actual part is hidden, so you'll never see it. But you know, watching this video, you get to get a sneak peek of the handle as it comes out of the machine. It's going to be about 40 seconds. That's probably about a 40-second cycle time.
Right.
You actually have to wait for the plastic to cool before you eject it. You can't just YOLO shoot. You have to wait for it to solidify a bit, and then you can push it out. But once it comes out,
that's where the coolant pipes come in, right?
yes, that's exactly. You want the mold to be hot, but not too hot. That's where the coolant comes in. There it goes. Yee. That's sick.
That's
eh?
awesome.
Yeah.
Brandon, you're gonna have to bear with me for a second here. This is a bit more of a time-sensitive operation than I initially anticipated. The first thing we gotta do is we gotta take the hot handles. That's critical because we're using a press fit to ensure that our ratchet mechanism stays in place in the handle, which means that we're taking advantage of the cooling of the handle to ensure that this stays in place. All right, we put our accent ring on, then this is keyed, so it only goes in one way. We put our ratchet assembly in place. We put these stoppers in the end of the shaft, and boom, it automatically press fits the ratchet into the handle. And then the other side that I was already working on pops out. These two go in here, and these guys get bit holders, which are also going to be press fit once I move it over here. These are finished drivers, which get put into these reusable styrofoam flats that will be forwarded to us for packaging. Now, one of the things we're looking for in QC is what they're calling gas marks, or also, while we're at it, any just random scratches on the finished part. You guys want a perfect, pristine screwdriver that I haven't dropped, right? Yeah, you do. If we allow the parts to sit in the tray behind me for too long, they cool enough that we cannot use them. So quick QC looks good. That explains why these guys weren't moving out of the way for the camera or nothing. They got screwdrivers to make. That also explains why we need gloves, because the parts that we're handling in this process are by their very nature hot. I'm still one part behind. I'm not catching up. It's almost like this is an optimized process.
Careful, don't scratch it, buddy.
Here, I'm not scratching them, Kyle.
Jeez, man.
Relax, Kyle.
People are gonna get this. You the freaking guy! Oh my word! What are you doing? Come on, man!
I'm falling behind. I am sweating so much right now, Brandon. Like, I am pouring sweat at the moment. Ow, that one's too hot. Okay, I give up. Help me! Help! I'm waving the white flag.
Why? What's wrong? Oh, you want the operator to come back?
Yeah, they can come back.
Okay, we're done.
As you guys probably figured out, if we're in mass production, we're probably taking orders. It's gonna take us a little while to get caught up to the volume of orders we're expecting. So we're gonna have a wave system, kind of like we had for Backpack, but our production capacity for these is much higher. So guys, check out the page. We're gonna have it linked down below where you can get your place in line. I could not be more excited for you guys to finally get your hands on this thing.
It's been like, what, 3 years?
Yeah. It's not really customary on our videos, but this was not a normal project. So Herman from MegaPro and actually the whole team there deserve a huge thanks here. I mean, he could have easily said, "Puh, these kids have no idea what they're getting into. They're not even tool makers," and simply stopped returning our calls. But instead, he took a personal interest in this project and made sure that it could succeed. Also, massive shout out to all of our own team, aside from the engineers, like Sarah, who designed our awesome, not to mention durable packaging, and our partners, except for that factory in Taiwan that we're still trying to get our deposit back from. Those guys can eat one if you know what I'm talking about. We absolutely love the final result though. It was worth it. We set out to build the best driver for building computers, and in doing so, ended up building something that's amazing for just about any task. So don't wait, go check it out, lttstore.com. And go check out our sponsor.
Squarespace. If you're building your brand online in 2022, you should absolutely have a website. And if you need a tool to help you build that brand, look no further than Squarespace. Squarespace is the all-in-one platform to help you expand
If you look at the list of the hardest countries to conquer, at the end, among giants like the US, Russia, Canada, and Australia, you might suddenly see Iran, a country that's way smaller in size. But actually, if you dig a little deeper into the issue, you'll see there's nothing strange about it. According to the private intelligence company Stratfor, Iran is a fortress, surrounded on 3 sides by mountains and on the 4th by the ocean. With a wasteland at its center, Iran is extremely difficult to conquer. Some media outlets call the company Stratfor the shadow CIA, but instead of just taking the word of some spies and analysts, let's try to figure out why Iran is called a fortress and how impenetrable that fortress really is. A little coffee, and we'll continue. Here's an unobtrusive reminder for those who forget to do something, don't forget to do it. And thanks to those who, you know what for. When we think about a country's security in geographical terms, we should always start by thinking about where attacks might come from. In the north, Iran is partly shielded by the Caspian Sea, and in the south there's the Arabian Sea, which serves as a kind of natural barrier. Yes, people have been seafaring for thousands of years, but big water can stop any army, or slow it down, so land invasions are always preferred for attackers. The age of precision munitions has made sea attacks even harder, so yeah. The invading country would rather invade Iran through one of its land borders. Iran shares international borders with 13 sovereign countries, 7 land neighbors and 6 maritime ones. The total length of its land borders with Iraq, Turkey, Azerbaijan, Armenia, Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan is 3,662 miles. There's plenty of room. Let's say an attack comes from Afghanistan. At first glance, starting the invasion from the west of the country seems like the most likely choice, but that's just at first glance, because from a logistics standpoint, building up large invasion forces in western Afghanistan would be a nightmare. At the very least, that's because there are several small mountain ranges along the border area, but okay, those can still be managed. But then the journey from the Afghan border to most major cities in Iran will require crossing 2 big deserts, the Dasht Lut and the Dasht Kavir. The composition of the soil and the terrain here makes it really tough to drive through these deserts in most military vehicles and even on motorcycles, but they'll have to go if they need to move infantry for an invasion. In the end, though, the enemy troops will just get stuck along the way. What about other directions? Iraq and Turkey? Here we have mountains again, this time the Zagros Mountains, which mark the borders of Iran with Turkey and most of Iraq. We'll come back to these mountains later. For now, I'll just say that a large-scale invasion through this path would be really tough. The only exception on Iran's western borders is in the very south, where the Tigris and Euphrates rivers meet to form the Shah al-Arab waterway. This was the invasion route that Saddam Hussein used in the 1980s, but he quickly found out that this was swampy land that was easy to defend, and then it's Zagros Mountains again. Alright, let's say we figured out that invading on land won't work. Let's go back to the idea of taking the country from the sea. Maybe it won't be so bad there? The most obvious choice is to try to invade Iran from its southern coast, which stretches for about 800 miles along the Persian and Oman Gulfs. But Iran has been getting ready for this kind of attack for a long time. See for yourself. This is how its naval bases are laid out. There's a huge amount of precision-guided missiles and non-smart ones, swarm boats, drones, submarines, and mines. Defending the shore is also kind of convenient just because of its layout. Iran's coastline, its bays, inlets, and islands are potentially great spots to hide drone boats that can ram tankers. You can even stash land-based missile systems here. It's geography that's the main factor in Iran's naval planning. You've probably noticed that the Persian and Oman Gulfs are pretty narrow. In many places, the width is less than 115 miles, which limits the maneuverability of large surface ships like aircraft carriers. Naturally, this only plays into the hands of those on the defensive, not to mention that the Iranians have deliberately fortified numerous islands in the bay, located on both sides of the main shipping routes. You just can't pass through without permission. And once again, we're making a huge assumption, imagining that enemy troops have managed to land in the south of the country. But the difficulties don't end there. They're just beginning, because geography will work in Iran's favor. The thing is, almost all the major cities are located in the north of the country, and getting to them will be a challenge even under the best circumstances. They won't be favorable because the Iranian military has long been planning to set up a guerrilla and insurgency campaign in case of an enemy invasion. The Iranians will do everything they can to stop the invaders from reaching the northern cities. And it's not that hard. If the enemy lands in the south and moves north, their supply lines will stretch across the whole country. That means they'll be vulnerable to ambushes by partisans. Besides civilians, they'll be Artesh, a mix of armored, infantry, and mechanized units. But honestly, if you rely on the U.S. military's experience in Iraq and Afghanistan, you can see that taking over a country is the easy part. When it comes to Iran, it's going to be a real challenge all the way through. First of all, because Iran is a big country, the 17th largest in the world. Iran covers an area of 650,000 square miles, which means its territory is bigger than the combined territories of France, Germany, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, and Portugal. And all across this vast land, there are constant obstacles to advancing. And here we come back to the mountains. It's not just that the mountains are there. Iran is well aware that they give it an edge in defense. The thing is, the population of Iran is concentrated in the mountains, not in the lowlands like in other countries. The decision to settle there wasn't made just to make it harder for the enemy to reach them. It's just that the lowlands are generally not suitable for living. The only exceptions are the southwest and southeast of the country. Otherwise, Iran is a country of 70 million people living in the mountains. Even its biggest city and capital, Tehran, lies at the base of towering mountains. And this is, by the way, one reason for the country's poverty. Mountainous areas hardly ever prosper. The cost of transport complicates industrial growth. Thinly populated mountain regions tend to be poor. Densely populated mountain areas, if they exist, are even poorer. The main population centers of Iran are surrounded by nearly inaccessible mountains and deserts, as well as water barriers. To the west and northwest, as I mentioned before, lie the Zagros Mountains. Their length is about 1,000 miles. Their width is only 150 miles. But when it comes to mountains, it's probably not right to say only. The highest point of the Zagros Mountains is Mount Dena, reaching 14,500 feet above sea level. The Zagros Mountains are considered one of the most dangerous places in the world. Bears, eagles, wolves, and leopards live there. Smuggling is rampant, and the locals are often armed. Naturally, there's a risk of falling off steep trails, a high chance of stepping on a landmine, dying in a snowstorm, or getting buried under an avalanche. And when it comes to military operations, you also have very limited visibility, which means you can't control the area. When you've crossed one mountain range and think it's all behind you, you find yourself facing the Kurud Mountains. So you have to start another ascent, dealing with pretty much the same challenges. To the north lies the Alborz mountain range. Don't confuse it with Mount Elbrus, which is in Russia. The Alborz mountains stretch from the border of Azerbaijan along the western and all along the southern shores of the Caspian Sea, and finally head northeast, where they merge with the smaller Aladak Mountains. Here stands Mount Damavand, the tallest mountain in Iran, reaching 18,400 feet. It's the 12th highest peak in the world and the second highest in Asia after Everest. Also, there are mountain ranges in Armenia. They also serve as a shield for Iran. There are mountains on the Pakistan and Afghanistan side too, the eastern Iranian range. Just a bit higher, at the Turkmenistan border, you'll find the big mountain system of Kopet Dag and the Aladak Mountains that I mentioned earlier. So it makes sense why Iran gets compared to a fortress. The country really resembles one, only instead of walls, there are mountain ranges. If you look beyond the Zagros Mountains, you can see the flatlands of Iraq. This topographical contrast has been a key factor in regional geopolitics for thousands of years, making Iran a fortified stronghold and its neighbor Iraq a buffer zone. But why do military operations in mountainous terrain pose such challenges, even for modern armies? For instance, advancing through the Zagros Mountains and the marshy areas of Khuzestan can bog down invaders with significant costs and logistical difficulties. History literally knows countless examples of invasions in mountainous regions, and each of these campaigns has ended in failure. Afghanistan, Scotland, the Caucasus. In almost every mountain community, there are stories about how outside invaders were driven out. The tougher the terrain, the more it helps the defenders of the region, especially if they fight like partisans or rebels. This means that while an invader might break into the area, they often can't find and wipe out the rebels afterward. The rugged terrain with its caves, forests, ravines, and interconnected paths known only to the locals provide shelter and fairly safe travel, even when invaders have total air superiority. The supply routes for the invaders are always limited and often go through places where only a lazy person would not set up an ambush. But without supplies, surviving and holding territory is just impossible, and fighting in the mountains becomes a really tough task. Mountains also mean a great height, where it can be tough to breathe and even harder to keep warm. Soldiers' physical condition worsens along with their state. It's hard to move supplies and people through the snow, hard to feed them because the wind snuffs out the fire, and finding dry firewood on snowy passes is a challenge too. Even helping the wounded is tough because it's hard to set up a field hospital, let alone evacuate people by air or on land. With all that white snow around, hiding out's pretty tough even with the right gear. Tough access, rough terrain, extreme weather conditions, and high altitudes? War in the mountains needs special tactics, gear, and training because it's nothing like fighting anywhere else. Tunneling and cave warfare, guerrilla tactics, and the use of pack animals like donkeys and mules for transport are some of the tried and true practices of mountain warfare. Now think about how many mountains there are in Iran, and picture how exhausting and long the capture of the country is going to be. Even though modern mountain warfare has benefited from tech advancements like air support, helicopter transport, GPS navigation, drones, and better communication systems, it's still quite a challenge. Some military experts say that mountains come in second when it comes to places that are a real nightmare to fight in. Jungles hold the top spot, but let's not forget about something located between the Iranian mountains: deserts. In the center of the country, there are the Dasht-e-Lut and Dasht-e-Kavir deserts, so basically no one lives there, only on the edges close to the mountains. Overall, it's estimated that deserts make up about 61 to 67 million acres of land in Iran. If you take a break from thinking about military actions, the deserts of Iran are geological wonders, shaped by millions of years of wind and water erosion. They consist of towering dunes that look like mountains whose silhouettes constantly change under the relentless force of nature. The dunes literally move like waves in a vast sea of sand, and it all would be really beautiful. But there are no marked trails, no paths, no water, just crazy hills of super soft sand. The knowledge about the dunes only came from a handful of explorers who dared to check them out, but even caravan travelers try to steer clear of these dunes. This area is called Rigajen, the Dejin's Dune. According to desert folklore, the sand dunes are cursed land ruled by evil spirits and demons. It's said that those who dare to venture into the dunes never come back, and it's no wonder, since the temperature here can reach 123 degrees Fahrenheit. And it's in the Dasht-e-Kavir where you find salt flats, or rather layers of salt covering thick layers of mud. You might think you're stepping on solid ground, but a second later you find yourself sinking into the local equivalent of quicksand. It's no coincidence they call this place the Bermuda Triangle of Iran. It just swallows people up. Dasht-e-Lut sets up different challenges for invaders. The surface temperature reaches up to 159 degrees Fahrenheit, making this desert one of the hottest and driest spots in the world. And just so you know, Lut in Persian means bare or empty, which perfectly describes this area. In Dasht-e-Lut, there's the Gandambarian Plateau, which translates from Persian as toasted wheat. According to a local legend, it came about after a load of wheat was left out in the desert and got scorched by the heat over a few days. But if you're still wondering why it's tough to fight in the desert after hearing all this, let's throw in some numbers. In tropical conditions, a soldier needs about 5 gallons of water a day. Imagine hauling that amount on a supply truck for a brigade. Now double that and then some, because in the desert, the necessary amount can reach up to 13 gallons. Sure, these are just rough figures, but intense fighting might actually demand that much water. Without a reliable water source, an army will just grind to a halt. Plus, it's hot. In the tundra, you can put on more clothes to stay warm, but in the desert, you can only take off so many clothes to deal with the high temperatures. Even if you take off everything, it won't help. Of course, modern armies have special climate control systems, but they need energy sources, and that brings a whole bunch of extra problems. Yeah, and overall, the desert's a pretty unfriendly place. High temperatures during the day and low temperatures at night, a lack of food, water, and vegetation, plus no shelter or cover. It's tough to fight in those conditions, and the heat and lack of water can sometimes be more dangerous than the enemy. Also, in the desert, there might be absolutely nothing around you. In these conditions, you can't hide. And camouflage won't save you. The sunlight makes visibility worse. You suffer from tiredness and physical stress. which quickly brings about a feverish weakness. Another problem is the sand dunes, which can seriously affect mobility. Without a solid and stable ground to rely on, it's easy to slip down or even get buried. Heavy equipment? Same story. As a matter of fact, everything I say about Iran's natural defense isn't just theory. The fact that the country is both geographically limited and geographically protected has shaped Iran's strategy from the ancient Persian empires to the present day. Throughout history, the country's mountains and deserts have made it practically impossible to conquer and then hold it under control. Let's take a couple of the greatest conquerors in human history. The Mongols, and later Tamerlane, successfully invaded the Iranian plateau, but to hold on to it, they had to either deploy tens of thousands of soldiers or get the locals involved by letting them participate in the country's governance. The first option was simply unrealistic, and the second one worked. The same goes for Alexander the Great, the most successful conqueror of Iran. After seizing the land, he brought in local elites to help maintain control of the state, but after Alexander's death, Iran quickly regained its independence. So it turns out that conquering a country just with outside forces is practically impossible, and definitely impossible to hold on to. The only chance is to get the locals on board, otherwise the Iranian fortress will remain impenetrable. Deadly avalanche. As we found out today, Iran is literally surrounded by mountains that protect the country from invaders, but sometimes they can play a nasty trick, not just on enemies, but also on innocent people. In 2023, at the peak of San Baran, the highest point of the Ashtaranku mountain range in Iran, reaching 13,600 feet, a collapse happened. The weather conditions in the area worsened due to snow, leading to the inevitable an avalanche. As a result, 5 climbers went missing and 4 others were injured and taken to the hospital. A little later, the rescue team found the bodies of the climbers, first 2, then 3 more. It's worth saying that local authorities gave fair warning about potential risks, but the climbers ignored it and started their climb anyway. So this is where it got them. And this isn't the only incident up in the Iranian mountains. Back in 2020, just north of the country's capital, Tehran, several avalanches hit the hillsides. These natural disasters took the lives of 12 people. Unusual theft. Everyone knows you can steal money, a phone, a purse, and so on, but the head of Iran's civil defense organization believes you can also steal clouds. He made a statement to journalists saying that Israel is stealing clouds meant for Iran, blocking rain from falling on Iranian land. Yes, relations between these countries have always been tense, but such accusations still sound unusual? To support his claim, the organization's head cited research showing that every mountain peak over 7,200 feet from Afghanistan to the Mediterranean is covered in snow, except those in Iran. Are there counter-arguments to this accusation? There are, and they're coming from Iran as well. The head of the meteorology service commented on the general statement, noting that from what he knows, meteorology says actions like these aren't possible. He stressed that Iran's drought is part of a global challenge and urged people to ignore silly theories and instead look for real answers. It's interesting that Iran is once again accusing foreign countries of causing drought on its land. About 7 years ago, former President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad suggested that European nations used special equipment to redirect rain clouds so the rain fell only in Europe. Honestly, I don't even know how to comment on this. Maybe you can give it a try. New desert. It might not be exactly cloud theft, but this is just as serious. Iranian experts are raising the alarm about the rapid desertification of the lush Golistan region. They warn that if urgent environmental measures aren't taken in 15 years, the area might become another lifeless desert. So does that mean another point in favor of Iran's invincibility? But on a serious note, experts are warning about a severe environmental crisis up north in Iran. The province spans about 5 million acres, including 1 million acres of preserved Hyrcanian forests, and is increasingly grappling with a serious water shortage. Official reports say that 98% of the groundwater reserves in the area have already been used, with no other sources left to tap. As the CEO of the Natural Resource Management Department says, several factors are making the situation worse. These include human activity, the influence of the Karakum Desert in Turkmenistan, and the loss of wetlands. But these are just the main reasons that contribute to desertification. There are also lesser ones. Of course, something needs to be done about this. The Iranian government has allocated funds to fight desertification. The thing is, only a portion of this money's actually been used. There are various reasons for this, but the fact remains, the problem's getting worse and could lead to some terrifying consequences. Locust invasion. Another problem in Iran is the locusts. And it's not just a few bugs, it's entire swarms that are ravaging the southern regions of the country. These insects can wipe out crops worth billions of dollars, which is a serious blow to the national economy. By the way, the Iranian economy has taken a big hit after the COVID-19 pandemic and has only recovered thanks to agriculture. Oil exports have dropped. What else can be done? Reports say that locusts have spread across 7 southwestern regions of the country. Authorities warn that this issue could affect up to 13 out of 32 provinces, and the head of Iran's plant protection organization stated that hundreds of thousands of acres are at risk. To fight off the insects, about $3.6 million was allocated, which was divided among the provinces based on the severity of the threat. In addition, the authorities even called in the military to help battle the locusts. India didn't sit this one out either and pitched in. They sent 2 batches of insecticides with a total volume of 10,600 gallons. Maybe this is that invader who managed to break through all the mountains and deserts of Iran. Dusty dilemma. Speaking of deserts, dust storms are a big problem in Iran, hitting 22 provinces already. Sure, these things are pretty common in dry and semi-arid regions, but the worst part is that the tiny sand particles get carried into the air, traveling long distances and settling in new places. Do you remember how many deserts are in this country? Now imagine your lungs are literally made of sand. Not cool. In an effort to improve the situation, Iran is looking to treat over 114,000 acres of desert areas and regions frequently hit by dust storms with a special cover. As the head of the National Headquarters for Combating Dust Storms, yep, that's a real organization, explained, one of the key strategies is using mulch to shield desert zones from winds that stir up dust in the air. However, there's a bit of a problem. The mulch used to hold storms at bay is made from oil. And of course, this is causing some debates among specialists and raising concerns from environmentalists. To find a greener solution, Iran reached out to the WHO to come up with a global strategy to help countries dealing with this issue. Something under the video you didn't forget? See you later.
My inbox is full of opportunities to review everything from furnace filters to off-brand smart locks to an endless army of Bluetooth speakers and battery banks. And usually I ignore all of it. But for the last month, we have indiscriminately said yes to everything for 2 reasons. Number 1 is that we're hoping to find some incredible diamonds in the rough. Number 2, everything else is going to be really funny. Hey Optimus, be cool.
He's supposed to reply to you.
Hey Optimus, roll out.
See? Can't be hungry if you don't have a head.
Optimus!
Problem solved.
Kicking things off then is the Transformers Optimus Prime Elite Core Edition from RoboSen.
Hey Optimus. Greetings. Roll out.
This is the Transformer toy that you dreamed of as a kid. Whoa! That is so freaking awesome. I love it. Whoa, there's all kinds of actions. Oh my god.
You can even add custom actions. You can make your own by doing like a block diagram of each motor and what position you want it to be in.
That's be cool. Optimus, you don't have to do anything to be cool. Hey Optimus Prime. Roll out. Whoa.
Build Redux. Tired of choppy performance and inconsistent frames? Build Redux will level up your gaming experience with a new PC built to your specs and shipped directly to your doorstep. Make the ultimate gamer move and check them out at the link below.
The price? $700 US. That's a lot of money for a Tickle Me Robo, but I mean, for a kid, even a 45-year-old kid, this is a pretty out of this world toy.
Don't say the words, hey Optimus Prime, roll out.
Can you not? Next up, we've got the phone that swallowed your phone. Holy crap, this thing is thick. It's got everything. Type-C for charging, got your lock and volume control, got your SIM and micro SD expansion. Oh, still no headphone jack. Is this just a battery case on top of another phone? It looks like it's overmolded over a regular SIM slot. So many cameras. AI music. What is AI music? This has an iPhone screen protector on it. It has a cutout for the notch and it's like not the right size for it. What the hell? Like, this is a weapon. Of course, its claim to fame is not the actually surprisingly decent looking screen or over 10,000 milliamp hour battery, but rather the 123 decibel speaker that is sticking out in a giant wart off of its back. According to one chart, that is just 2 decibels lower than Pain Begins. Well, it's definitely painful.
Yeah.
Yeah, not because it's particularly loud though.
I mean, credit where credit's due. It's loud for a phone, but it has AI music on the back twice. How could it fail us?
Yeah, once you go past about 60%, it just completely loses any semblance of balance. It's only 150 bucks though, but it comes with a MediaTek Helio A22 Dimensity chipset, so it's a 4-core from 2018, 4 gigs of RAM, and Android 12. And I would sincerely doubt that you will ever get any kind of update beyond that. Took a while to launch the app. Oh, you know what I mean? Hey, it's David.
Well, David looks good on any camera.
Not on this one, sorry.
Oh, that's pretty rough, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's not. David's not the problem. It's not going to be any better with me. Yeah, could use more smoothing.
You know you're not supposed to use the same soap that you use on your body for your face, right? Different soaps.
Next up is apparently some RC cars, which are, cobotics. You can get red, blue, silver, black, or nothing. And then you just paint it yourself.
Each car comes with a headset.
Oh, no way. These are first-person view with headset cars. $149.99. Oh wait, it only
You
holds
actually
the phone?
nailed it.
Did I really?
They're $150 each.
Wow. Cool. Let's try it. Here we are a day later, and we have finally got a direct Wi-Fi connection between the phone in here and the car right there, and that's not bad in terms of latency. I mean, it's not amazing. No, it's usable. Well, maybe. I guess I should try driving it. Oh, Trace. Oh, God.
Put it in front of your head, and then it'll be your vision.
Do I need to bribe you with a biggie or something?
It's only a little better. Oh, okay. Whoa, whoa. Okay. If I accidentally tilt it, it feels like the whole world is falling away from me. Okay.
Don't get sick now. We have the rest of the video to make.
What's the range on this thing like? Man, I'm on the TechLink set.
You're on the TechLink set and you can see just fine?
I mean, it's a little blocky. I wouldn't describe it as just fine.
Sick.
Engine is
Look who's
cooled
keeping up
down
with you
with the
gazes.
and performance. Oh, hi, Adam.
Hello. There you go.
Oh God, that's so nauseating. Why would you do that to me?
Sorry.
You cannot navigate this thing at full speed. Hi, Linus. I have 2 different takes on this. One, as a tech reviewer who knows that this is a lot of technology for 150 bucks, I'm like, wow, that's really impressive. But from a, this is my real money that I actually paid and this is the experience I get standpoint.
Why don't we talk about the laser?
Yeah, about this. The comments on Yvonne's AMD Ultimate Tech upgrade made it pretty clear that without an extraction hood and a tinted cover, you basically shouldn't use these because at best you might go blind and at worst you might inhale some bad stuff and, I don't know, go blind, go dead.
Yeah. Our health and safety committee said no.
Oh, we can't even turn it on?
They said please don't. This is a class 4 laser, which means that even reflections can cause permanent eye damage.
What about these glasses?
Those, I believe, are not properly rated, so he said no.
I see. They look cool though.
I mean,
go ahead, just say it.
Taste is subjective.
Cool. Okay, and how much is this thing?
$2,000.
And are we covering it?
On Short Circuit, Tynan's gonna do a full coverage of it. That's a weird way to say that. How about something that's a little bit more down to earth? This is the Gravistar Supernova.
Uh-huh.
It's a Bluetooth speaker and lamp.
I mean, you know what? I kind of like its style.
The plastic molding and the intricate paint is actually really well done. It's a really cool knickknack, and the RGB is also relatively tasteful.
I mean, yeah, I think it looks really cool. It's got like that vacuum tube or Nixie tube kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, and you can change the settings. We have 3 different RGB settings.
Trying to
I
find
guess if you
anything.
include off, it's 4. Bonus feature.
You're just on your phone.
No, I'm not just on my phone.
That's a really cool speaker. It sounds okay, but because it's a down-firing speaker, it really depends on the surface you put it on. And I found any sort of soft surface completely muffles it, and it sounds a lot better holding it.
It still doesn't sound very good, dude. Are you a bass head by any chance?
No, not really, but...
Okay, because that's the only way that I could say
I've
that
heard-
it sounds anything other than like butt.
I've heard a lot worse Bluetooth speakers. Here's something that I didn't understand about this, because it was prominently featured in their marketing materials. It comes with a hook.
A hook? So you can be that guy.
Yeah, I know. They're like, put it on your backpack.
In style. I mean, these legs are not super hanging off of a bag friendly.
Yeah, I know. They'll just get caught on stuff.
How to be a tool and look like one too. Just have this hanging off your backpack while you're hiking.
Playing music to keep the bears away. What is a little bit more bag friendly is their cute little GAN nitride charger.
What does that have to do with anything?
He's small.
And he's a charger.
Yeah.
I mean, okay. How much is this thing? I'm guessing 250 bucks.
180.
Yeah, okay.
It's a $100 knickknack with a $40 speaker in it, and you pay 40 bucks for having both of them in one package.
There is so much stuff.
Oh yeah, I know, man.
This could be 3 videos. Or we'll have a bunch of extras on flowplane.com/LTT. Okay, this is a laptop stand. Oh. No,
it stands.
I mean, maybe with a laptop on it.
That's pretty cool, Will. Hey, that's on there. It didn't like...
What? What is this?
This is the ICO ITX05 13-in-1 full stack docking station.
Full stack.
It's full stack, man.
It's full stack.
It's got the bottom and the top of it.
It's a Type-C dock with a speaker in it.
And a DAC. I was actually really looking forward to this thing because this is like the exact perfect thing that would fit on my desk. Has amp DAC combo in here, can power some of the headphones that I listen to.
Whoa! Okay, that's pretty cute. Dual display, quad USB Type A. You get a couple of USB-Cs. There's a power delivery input so that you can actually charge your laptop while it's connected to it. Ethernet, and then of course, if it's a DAC, it's gonna have a headphone jack and then also a balanced output.
And optical.
No microphone jack. So that's a yikes. What is the deal with this port up in the top?
I think...
Is this the intended use case? That really doesn't seem right. Wireless charging?
It's not wireless.
I mean, it's got this. What is this?
I thought maybe headphones. That's the only guess. I literally have no idea.
Headphones? Then it would be female.
No, I mean like your AirPods charging case. Or not your AirPods, but my case is too tall.
Oh. I could get it in there. Oh, sorry.
But also we can listen to some hi-fi headphones.
Ooh, hi-fi headphones from Begubpa.
Yeah.
What is this brand? How blatantly did they rip off the B from Bang & Olufsen?
That's what I'm saying.
Ooh, a faux leather carrying case. Wow, those are loud. Design-wise, they're quite loud. Does it come with any other size of ear tip?
It does. That's the default ear tips.
Yeah, I mean...
And they're very, very large for default.
Maybe they're like a Holland-focused company.
Do they
sell a lot into Holland? Well, they just...
Canals?
No, they're just like really tall there. I figure if they're tall, they might have big ear canals.
I mean, I'm tall and my ear canals are very small. My doctor says I'm an abomination. They include so many ear tips.
What are these made of? Are these just like a resin mold?
It's wood.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be some kind of resin impregnated.
It's resin cured wood.
Okay. So it's resin.
I mean,
with wood in it.
Yeah, but the actual interior is wood too. It's not. If you think they have a lot of ear tips, just wait till you hear how many drivers they have.
7.
There's 9 in each earbud.
That would explain why they're so big.
It has 4 balanced armatures, 4 electrostatic tweeters, and 1 9.2 millimeter dynamic driver.
They go in like that?
It took me a little while to figure it out.
Oh, that's unintuitive. So David, you said you liked the look. Do you still like the look?
Why does it have
I think you have them wrong.
There's no way that's right.
The cable was on backwards.
I like how they look.
I like it.
I like the jade kind of aesthetic.
I can tell you they have excellent noise isolation. Like, I don't need active noise cancellation on something that's that much of an earplug. Ooh, it has the thing. Look, shut up, I use it.
No, I agree, a cinch is awesome.
Helps a lot. I know it looks ridiculous, but it really does help a lot. This is one of those products that's either $120 from some weird Chinese brand, or is like $2,000. And I have no idea which one I'm looking at right now. Plug into our balanced jack here. What kind of DAC doesn't have a volume knob?
A touchscreen DAC.
Hello? These sound great.
I know, right? They sound really good.
They're pretty uncomfortable. I'm not gonna lie. Because they don't really sit inside your ear, they're basically just hanging all this weight off of your ear canal. $7.99.
You're pretty close, $8.99.
Okay, all right. I'm trying to unplug this, and this whole piece of the DAC is like coming apart. I mean, I guess you don't want your balanced jack to be too loose. What about the price for this guy? $199.
$476.
Oops. Nope. See you later.
I hope you weren't listening to that music too loud because you could lose your hearing.
No, I was okay.
In the event that you do, you can try the Liner Nova.
Yeah, because when you're as old as this guy, that's the time to start protecting your hearing.
I mean, life starts from hearing.
Why? Oh, they look cool though. These definitely look like rip-off AirPods. Oh, that is, speaking of hearing damage, that is extremely loud.
On each bud, there's a tube. On each bud, there's 2 buttons.
Okay. Ow!
They're for people that are hard of hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So at level 1, you're unpleasant.
That's just
Well,
me generally.
yeah, haha. Oh, and then this is just USB-C power aux in, so you can hook it up to your TV or whatever.
Exactly.
And these bridge the gap between wireless earphones and a hearing aid type product, I guess.
Yeah.
To their credit, for an off-brand AirPods clone, this is actually a pretty compact case. Have we listened to music on them? They're not audiophile headphones, but like, they sound kind of decent. And then I'm gonna pause my music.
And then how does it, can you hear me really well now? Or?
Okay, it took a second, but yeah, it's kicked in. I can hear myself.
I found that if I do like, or like,
whoa, it was in this ear and then it was.
So I think what it's trying to do is that if it goes, you hear a really loud bang on your left, it's not trying to boost it so that you get deaf in your left ear.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
canceling it out, but it's really sensitive so that if I do this, you hear
I can hear the echo.
Yeah.
It's not the snap.
Yeah.
Because of the delay, I can tell it's the echo off that wall. Interesting.
It's canceling this ear because it's going, oh, that's a loud noise.
Yeah.
It's not the
These
best.
have got to
though.
be like $500.
$407.
I could see people buying this and being extremely happy with it. Oh, it's time for a door lock. Door lock.
Cheeto. These guys don't exist on Amazon anymore.
Oh.
So I'm assuming it's just like a quick in and out weird.
Okay, but if they were, then you would put this cable through this hole.
Yeah, we can get batteries in there, right?
Why? Whoa, it's on. Wait. Oh God, why would you want it to be like that? Is this, are you intended to put it on the door like this? There's a USB micro B in the end of this handle, but it uses AAA batteries.
You can connect it to an app.
What does that have to do with the micro B USB port?
I don't know, factory resetting it? I'm trying to find that.
Is this a fingerprint sensor though?
It is.
I would definitely trust this with my fingerprints.
Oh, if the batteries are drained and you don't have your key.
You can just plug in a battery bank to power it temporarily.
No, it's a solution.
Hey! It's a handheld gaming PC. A-OK Zoe. Well, how the hell am I supposed to pronounce that? You dicks. Wow, Ryzen 6000? Play some GTA 5, boys? Boom. That was all it had. Wow, these joysticks are nothing special. Neither is this ooh, that D-pad is truly awful.
It's especially awful.
What is this, a keyboard shortcut? Ugh. Just do yourself a favor and enable the real keyboard down here and then just touch it down here. It's a lot better. This is really annoying. I can't even select this text field. Oh, the password I can, but the account I can't. Ooh, it has RGB though. Look at this, the handles are glowing. Handheld gaming on Windows truly is an unfinished experience. That is Valve's big advantage right now. Ooh. Oh. And it's gone.
The software is really, really bad.
Well, it's non-existent is what it is. I don't fucking care. Just launch the game.
Sorry, the new version of this console that they're releasing at the same price is going to be the first console to market with the 7840U. But that's basically the Z1 Extreme.
Got it. Okay. It's not light, but it's pretty ergonomic for the size. Like, it's not hard to hold on to. I actually quite like the shape of it. Micro SD slot, 2 USB-Cs, which is really nice to see. That's something you won't find on either the ROG Ally or the Steam Deck. That's a pretty looking display. Not the brightest I've seen.
And it's huge, 8 inches.
That's really big. It's not even that loud. It's not quiet like the Ally, but it's reasonable. Okay, I mean, software aside, I don't mind the hardware for this thing. And I like the color scheme, it's pretty. How hard is it for guys like this to compete now that the ROG Ally exists? Oh no, $859 and over $1,200 for a terabyte of storage and 32 gigs of RAM. The ROG Ally's software is not perfect either, but it has some.
They made a battery brand for you, Cuck-Tech.
Okay, to my knowledge, nobody has actually had sex with Yvonne since we got married. And I certainly didn't watch. So, no.
It's just an energy you give off.
40,000 milliamp hours though. With this kind of big battery energy, I mean, I don't think she'd look elsewhere.
There's something.
Sorry, are they being cucked or doing the cucking? I'm not sure.
Maybe they're just like a cucking technician. They're just there for support during the whole event.
Anyway,
there's a humor to me that this is called the P Plus series.
All right, I think we're done here. See you later. That's okay. I'm no longer interested in the price of the Cuck-Tech. I found me a much more satisfying. Meet the Omnicharge. You can power it up here. It's got a little display, 3 USB-C outputs. One of them is in/out. Oh, okay, that's the charging one. Does this do USB PD?
Yes, it
have
does.
to. It also does AC out. You can charge it via DC. It comes with a wall wart that's a GAN 65-watt charger, and the total capacity on this bad boy, 6,400 milliamp hours. Is that it?
At 22 volts.
Oh.
So if we're talking what most people measure it, it's closer to 40,000 milliamp hours.
Okay, about the same as the Cuck-Tech.
But
look at that temperature monitoring and everything on here.
it has a 100-watt DC in and out, so it can save you a power brick. It also acts as a hub for file transfers.
I trust it. But how much does it cost?
It costs $450. So, yeah, you're paying a lot for those premium features.
Goovis.
No, wait.
No, I want to do Goovis.
Okay, you're doing Goovis, okay.
You can't put stuff in front of me and expect me to not open it.
You're gonna do the Goovis.
Goovis. Ooh, Goovis goggles. Wait, is Goovis a slang I'm not familiar with?
It's just the stupidest word, Goovis.
Do I look like a Goovis?
Absolutely.
This is just one of those personal home theater things, right?
Yep.
Okay. That's probably about equivalent to a 120 or so inch screen at, about 8-10 feet. There's a lot of light bleed around it, I'll tell you that much. And the flip up does freaking not work at all. It just drags it down. There's no middle strap, so there's nothing to kind of hold it in place.
There is a clip for a middle strap. I have no idea where that is now.
Oh, all right.
That never made it over here.
Apparently that's user error then.
Yep. 42 pixels per degree.
Wow.
Most other brands only have less than 20 ppd. And the equivalent of an 800-inch screen. It's like sitting at IMAX with 3,147 ppi. No, don't. You're getting ahead of yourself.
I want to plug it in.
You're gonna
have a holding fan.
What the hell is wrong with you? Look at these IPD adjustments, and you can switch between 3D and 2D, brightness adjustments and everything. This foam, not great. Goovis.
Linus.
Goovis.
Okay, I'm glad you're having a lot of fun with your Goovis, Linus. I'm really happy for you, but you gotta slow down. I work with a child. Wait, look at that.
What?
You know what? We got the Goovis and a seat.
Oh. And I'm dead. Magnetically removable thing. Got the padded bolsters, which is kind of nice. At least the Yeah, you don't go straight through to the wooden bottom. Yeah, as long as you don't weigh too much, this should be reasonably okay as far as gaming chairs go.
This is actually the XL version, so it's 4 people between the heights of 5'11 and 6'8. Any feature you can find in a secret lab, you can pretty much find on here.
Cool.
It's a $600 chair.
$600 chair. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that much given the features.
The other thing that we got was this sick
Oh, no
racing
way.
stuff.
This is part of the Say Yes to Everything?
Yeah.
Moza Racing. I've never heard of them.
Neither have I, but apparently they're actually quite well liked in the racing community.
Oh.
Tyvee has given his badge of approval, being kind of our resident racing nerd.
We don't have
a
a little stiff, and we don't have any way to brace this.
I got you, fam. No, just hold on for a second.
Are you kidding? This is how we're doing this? This is not how this works. The whole table's moving. My chair's on wheels.
Okay, so you want it to
Smooth casters.
Have you felt the buttons on these?
This feels freaking amazing. What's janky about this?
Nothing, actually. Moza's actually killing it. I was super impressed with everything that they have.
These joysticks feel amazing. Wow. That screen actually looks pretty good. This is kind of awesome.
Okay, well, we're going to have the next...
Force feedback